Chapter 17. It was easy to check one's pulse. One only needed to place one's palm on the altar and infuse one's true qi into it. The altar would react. The altar would estimate one's potential based on the density of one's true qi, the density of one's acupoints, and the toughness of one's meridians. Stars would light up accordingly. The greater the potential, the more stars there would be. The highest was 9 stars. Above the 9 stars was a rainbow. Only when one's divine meridians were unlocked would a rainbow appear. A rainbow would appear when a divine meridian was unlocked. "Alright, let's begin," the second elder announced. One by one, the young men and women stepped forward. Most of them had 4 stars, 5 stars, and so on. It was only when Lu Chuan stepped forward that 7 stars lit up on the altar. 7 stars. That's not bad. He can join the Mystic Essence Sword sect. Duan Muqing nodded. Not bad. With such talent, he can pass all the tests in the Mystic Essence Sword sect and become a disciple of the sect. Tai Zhong from the Azure Dragon Institute said. The pulse examination continued. Following which, 2 7-star potential patients appeared. There was even an 8-star potential patient. This caused a wave of exclamations. Those who had 7 stars had more than just unlocked 9 meridians. Even the first divine meridian had unlocked a few major acupoints. It was not difficult for many geniuses to reach the pinnacle of the meridian opening realm. However, after reaching the pinnacle of the meridian opening realm, they would stop for a long time to unlock their divine meridian. Many people could not unlock a complete divine meridian, but unlocking a few major acupoints on the divine meridian would increase their potential. Every time a major acupoint was unlocked, one's potential would increase. However, none of the disciples of the Lu clan had unlocked a complete divine meridian. Soon, only Lu Yao and Lu Ming were left. Lu Ming, open your eyes wide and take a good look. Look at our potential and see how big the difference is. Lu Yao glanced at Lu Ming nonchalantly and walked toward the altar. Everyone's attention was focused on Lu Yao again. Lu Yao had awakened a level 5 bloodline. They had heard that she had unlocked a divine meridian. After that, she went into seclusion for 2 months. What level would she be at now? Everyone was looking forward to it. As for Lu Ming, he was just a good-for-nothing with a decent willpower, so no one took him seriously. Lu Yao stretched out her jade-like hand and placed it on the altar. A fiery red true qi was injected into the altar. Wang! The altar shook. Then, 1 star after another began to condense in the sky above it. 1, 2, soon, the number of stars on the altar reached 6. But it didn't stop. Immediately, the 7th star was formed, followed by the 8th, the 9th. When the 9 stars gathered together, they formed a long rainbow that soared into the sky. Rainbow pierces the sun. This represented a complete divine vein. However, that wasn't the end. Following that, a second streak of light soared into the sky. At the same time, specks of light began to shine from Lu Yao's body. That was the acupoint that she had opened. All 81 major acupoints lit up, then 82, 83. In the end, a total of 99 light spots shone out. The 99 light dots represented that Lu Yao had opened 99 major acupoints and 2 divine veins. Everyone in the spectator stand stood up and looked at Lu Yao in shock. Including the 7 core elders of the Lu family and the envoys of the Mystic Essence Sword sect. Even Mulan's eyes were filled with amazement. Lu Yao stood in front of the altar in a snow-white dress. 99 light spots shone on her body. On the altar, 2 streaks of light pierced the sun. She looked like a fairy that had descended from the heavens. She was elegant, pure, and pure. Not far away, Lu Ming seemed very small and insignificant. Ha ha ha. The first elder couldn't help but laugh. Monster, she's really a monster. With Lu Yao and the Lu family, they're going to soar in the future. No other force in Firestorm City can compete with them. That's right, such a monster. No wonder the peerless genius of the Duanmu family is engaged to Lu Yao. I heard that Duanmu Lin has also opened 2 divine veins. With the 2 of them working together, they're a perfect match. Firestorm City will have another story to tell. No wonder the 7 core elders of the Lu family let Lu Yao take charge of the Lu family. It's a pity that such a genius doesn't take charge of the Lu family. If it were me, I would have already given up the position of patriarch. Of course. I heard that she has opened 2 divine veins and has the potential to become a martial king. How terrifying. Could it be that Firestorm City will give birth to a martial king in the future? Around them, some of the small families and forces in Firestorm City were discussing. Miss Lu Yao, if you join the Black Tortoise Institute, we're willing to provide you with Earth-level cultivation techniques and Earth-level martial skills. You'll be promoted to a silver disciple. Gao Shi from the Black Tortoise Institute stood up excitedly and threw an olive branch to Lu Yao. Miss Lu Yao, if you join the Azure Dragon Institute, not only will we provide you with Earth-level cultivation techniques and martial skills, you'll be promoted to a silver disciple. We'll also find a silver-gowned elder to be your master and teach you how to cultivate. Tai Zhong from the Azure Dragon Institute did not want to be left behind. He threw out an even more attractive offer. What are you doing? Miss Lu Yao is already married to a genius from the White Tiger Institute. She should join the White Tiger Institute. Furthermore, the offer from the White Tiger Institute will definitely be better than yours. Duanmu Qing looked at Gao Shi and Tai Zhong unhappily and said loudly. She had opened 2 divine veins with a rank 5 bloodline. She had the potential to become a martial king in the future. Although it was only a possibility, such a genius was worthy of being nurtured by a sect. Naturally, they would want to recruit her into their own institute. Miss Lu Yao, Lu Qian from the Vermilion Bird Institute was about to speak, but she was stopped by Mulan's. Wait, let's see. Mulan's had a strange smile on her face. Martial Uncle Mu. Lu Qian was a little anxious. If she didn't open her mouth at this time and didn't offer any conditions, Lu Yao's chances of choosing the Vermilion Bird Courtyard would be very slim. She didn't know why Mulan wanted to stop her, but Mulan's identity was no small matter. Since she had spoken, Lu Qian was helpless and could only watch anxiously. The surrounding crowd gasped and revealed an extremely envious expression at the same time. For the sake of a single person, several great academies had offered generous terms. How glorious was this? If it were them, they would wake up laughing in their dreams. At that instant, Lu Yao withdrew her qi. The 2 rays of light disappeared together with the light dots on her body. She walked toward Lu Ming and said, Lu Ming, do you see it now? The difference between you and me is like the distance between the heavens and the earth. We will never cross paths. Do you still have the courage to challenge me now? After saying this, Lu Yao was about to leave the ring. You only opened 2 divine veins, is that impressive? Lu Ming's disdainful voice could be heard. What? Lu Yao paused and turned around. Lu Ming strode to the front of the altar. Lu Ming, you were born with a weak body and blocked meridians. Now you want to check your pulse? Aren't you afraid of embarrassing yourself? Lu Chuan sneered. Lu Ming is right. Lu Ming, you should go down. You have participated in the first round and your willpower is good enough. You don't need to continue. Later, you will not be the only one who will lose face, but the whole Lu families. On the main stage, the Great Elder also spoke. Lu Yunxiong, as the Great Elder, you repeatedly obstructed Junior from taking the test. I think you are the one who will lose face. Lu Ming retorted. Lu Ming, how dare you talk to me like this? You are offending your superior. The first elder's embarrassment turned into anger as he berated loudly. However, Lu Ming turned around and didn't bother to look at him. Then, Lu Ming pressed his hand on the altar and injected true qi. Above the altar, a light shone and a star appeared. Lu Ming, this trash. Did he cultivate true qi? He can actually form a star. Lu Chuan's eyes widened in surprise. Lu Yao's beautiful eyes flickered. She was also surprised. This guy defeated me with a punch last time. I am afraid he is not that simple. Lu Bing, who was beside Lu Chuan, looked at him seriously. Just then, the light shone again on the altar and another star appeared. However, this was only the beginning. Following that, more and more stars began to condense on the altar. 2, 3, 8, 9, soon, 9 stars appeared above the altar. How can this be? Isn't Lu Ming a trash with blocked meridians? How can he cultivate true qi? Gosh, he can really cultivate true qi and he has 9 stars. 9 stars is already very shocking. Other than Lu Yao, no one in the Lu family has the potential to cultivate true qi. On the stage, Lu Yao's eyes narrowed. She was in disbelief. Lu Ming's bloodline was taken away by her. How could he cultivate true qi and have the potential to cultivate true qi? She couldn't figure it out. Lu Yao, can't you figure it out? Speaking of which, it is all thanks to you. Lu Ming said to Lu Yao. It is just 9 stars. It is nothing in front of a real genius. Lu Yao calmed down quickly and said disdainfully. Is that so? What about this? Chapter 18. The 9 stars above the altar gathered together and a rainbow shot up into the sky. Rainbow piercing the sun. Rainbow piercing the sun appeared again. Involuntarily, everyone on the scene stood up one by one. Ming-er, Ming-er. In the crowd, Li Ping and Qiu Autumn Moon clenched their fists and trembled with tears in their eyes. Previously, she only knew that Lu Ming could cultivate true qi, but she never expected that Lu Ming had such great potential. All of a sudden, she felt that all the hardships she had suffered over the years had not been in vain. All the tiredness she had endured had not been in vain. Impossible. This is impossible. On the main stage, the first elder exclaimed. How could this be? On the other side, Li Fu's eyes almost popped out. This is impossible. Then let's continue. Lu Ming smiled faintly. Buzz. Buzz. The altar shook twice, and 2 rainbows shot up into the sky. At the same time, light spots lit up on Lu Ming's body one after another. 81, 90, 99, and finally, 108. Silence. Complete silence. The crowd suddenly quieted down. Even the sound of breathing could not be heard. It was as if everyone had forgotten to breathe at this moment. There was only a gentle breeze that brought a little sound. Everyone stared at Lu Ming in a daze. Their eyes almost popped out of their sockets and their mouths were so wide open that a duck egg could be stuffed in. 3 rainbows meant that all 108 meridians had been opened. This meant that Lu Ming had opened 3 divine meridians. The difference between opening 2 divine meridians and opening 3 divine meridians was only 1 divine meridians. However, the difference between the 2 was like heaven and earth. 3 divine meridians meant perfection. In the Burning Sun Empire, although not many people could open 2 divine meridians in each generation, there were always some. However, there were very few people who could open 3 divine meridians. Sometimes, there might not even be one in a generation. At this moment, Lu Yao's 2 divine meridians paled in comparison to Lu Ming's 3 sky meridians. One was perfection, and the other was imperfection. There was no comparison. Yuntian, did you see that? Our Ming-er has finally grown up. Li Ping looked at Lu Ming's tenacious figure as tears streamed down her face. The sleeping lion has awakened. A genius has been born, Mulan said softly. At the side, Lu Qian opened her eyes wide. At this moment, she suddenly realized why Mulan stopped her from inviting Lu Yao. It turned out that it was because of this person, Lu Ming. On the main stage, the 7 core elders were trembling as they looked at Lu Ming. Young master, the young master has actually opened 3 divine veins. The heavens have eyes. One of the white-haired core elders even shed tears. No, no, this is impossible. How can he open 3 divine veins without a bloodline? The great elder roared, unable to accept this reality. Impossible. Lu Ming, impossible. You trash, how is this possible? Lu Yao couldn't bear it anymore and screamed. Lu Ming, do you see it now? The difference between you and me is like heaven and earth. We will never cross paths. Do you still have the courage to challenge me now? This was what she said to Lu Ming just now. But now, it was so funny. It was like 2 tight slaps on her face. Nothing is impossible. Lu Yao, let me tell you. Your so-called talent, your so-called reliance, is just a joke in my eyes. Lu Ming looked at Lu Yao. This woman that he once loved deeply had no feelings for her now. Lu Ming, what are you so proud of? You're just trash who can't awaken your bloodline. I don't know what kind of opportunity you had to open 3 divine veins, but it's a fact that you can't awaken your bloodline. Ha ha ha. Lu Yao screamed hysterically. Lu Yao, your current appearance truly resembles that of a shrew cursing on the streets. Right now, I formally challenge you to a duel. If you lose, you can scram out of the Lu clan. The 108 light spots on Lu Ming's body were extremely dazzling. His eyes were shining with cold battle intent. His voice resounded throughout the area. Lu Ming's willpower test and pulse examination had shocked everyone. Now, he wanted to challenge Lu Yao, which shocked everyone once again. Lu Yao, do you dare to fight with me? Lu Ming stared at Lu Yao with bright eyes. Alright, Lu Ming, I'll fight with you. I want everyone to understand that you were merely lucky and had a fortuitous encounter that allowed you to unlock 3 divine meridians. However, a martial artist's combat skills and martial arts techniques depend on talent and comprehension. I'll show you your true colors now and let everyone know that you're still a good-for-nothing in front of me. Lu Yao seemed to have calmed down and regained her confidence. So what if you have a strong willpower? So what if you've opened 3 divine veins? A martial artist's strength ultimately depended on their fighting strength. She wanted to completely trample on Lu Ming's dignity with her fighting strength and make him unable to recover from this setback. The surrounding crowd's eyes flickered thoughtfully. This was also the reason why the Mystic Essence Sword Sex Great Sex didn't invite Lu Ming after he had shown great talent in the first 2 tests. Firstly, Lu Ming's bloodline couldn't be awakened. Secondly, opening the meridians could indeed rely on external forces, but it couldn't decide everything. Therefore, in their hearts, Lu Yao was naturally more important. You're talking so much nonsense. Be careful that you don't end up slapping your own face. Lu Ming looked at Lu Yao and replied indifferently. Lu Ming, don't be so arrogant. My sister doesn't need to deal with you. I'll teach you a lesson. On the platform, Lu Chuan strode forward and stood in front of Lu Ming. Lu Ming sneered and said, Lu Chuan, even if you didn't look for me, I would have looked for you. Now, I'll deal with you first. It's the same. Ha ha ha, Lu Ming, you're really arrogant now. But let me tell you, fighting on the platform isn't child's play. There will be blood. If I accidentally cripple you or even kill you, don't blame me then. Lu Chuan sneered and looked at Lu Yunfeng and the main seat. Chuan, you're right. Fighting isn't child's play. Since we're going to fight, there will naturally be injuries. It's inevitable. Go ahead, the first elder said loudly with a cold light in his eyes. The 7 core elders looked at each other and nodded. They didn't object. Seeing this, Lu Yunfeng announced, all right, since the 2nd round is over, let's enter the 3rd round. Try your best, but don't harm your lives. Lu Chuan smiled proudly and said, Lu Ming, it's too late for you to regret now. Lu Ming smiled meaningfully and said, is that so? Lu Ming, how many moves do you think you can take from me? 1 move or 2? Lu Chuan mocked. 1 move. Lu Ming said indifferently. Ha ha ha, you know your limits. You know you can only take 1 move from me. Lu Chuan laughed. No, I mean, I'll defeat you in one move. Lu Ming said indifferently. Defeat Lu Chuan in one move? The audience was in an uproar. They looked at Lu Ming as if he was crazy. One move, Lu Ming said he could defeat Lu Chuan in one move. Was he crazy? One must know that Lu Chuan had awakened a rank 2 bloodline and had even reached the 3rd rank of the martial warrior realm. Even if Lu Ming had opened 3 divine veins, he wouldn't be Lu Chuan's opponent, let alone in one move. Defeat me in one move? Lu Bing's face darkened and his eyes flashed with killing intent. He said, Lu Ming, if I don't cripple you today, my name isn't Lu Chuan. Boom! Lu Chuan's aura erupted and his body shone with light. The aura of a 3rd-grade martial warrior was undoubtedly revealed. Lu Ming, die. Lu Chuan hollered and took the initiative to attack. He punched Lu Ming. He wanted to cripple Lu Ming in one move. Chapter 19. Just as Lu Bing was about to close in on Lu Ming took a step forward. The floor rumbled as a powerful aura burst out from Lu Ming's body. Boom! Lu Ming also threw out a punch, but this punch was faster than Lu Chuan's. It was as fast as lightning. Bang! Lu Ming's fist landed squarely on Lu Chuan's dantian, and a violent force gushed out. Bang! Lu Bing was instantly sent flying 4 to 5 meters away. He landed heavily on the ground, and blood spurted out from his mouth. Ah! Ah! My dantian, my cultivation. Lu Ming, you actually crippled my cultivation. Following that, Lu Chuan let out a blood-curdling scream. Silence. The scene was silent, and everyone's gaze was fixed on this moment. Lu Ming crippled Lu Chuan in one move. Unbelievable. Boom. On the main seat, the first elder suddenly stood up, and a cold murderous aura burst out. He stared at Lu Ming with a ferocious expression and roared, Lu Ming, you bastard, what did you do? What did you do? How dare you cripple Chuan's cultivation? I'm going to grind your bones to dust. After saying that, the first elder jumped down from the main seat and pounced on Lu Ming like a cannonball. Lu Yunxiong, what are you trying to do? On the stage, Lu Yunfeng's eyes turned cold. He threw out a palm and exchanged a blow with the first elder. Lu Yunfeng's body trembled, and he retreated 5 steps. On the other hand, the first elder only retreated 3 steps. Lu Yunfeng, you dare to stop me? The first elder roared. Lu Yunxiong, this is the clan meeting. What are you trying to do? Are you going against the clan rules? Lu Yunfeng did not back down. The first elder and second elder had always been at odds. The conflict between the 2 factions had been going on for a long time. Lu Yunfeng naturally wouldn't let the first elder have his way so easily. Lu Yunxiong, stand down. On the main seat, a core elder shouted. The first elder's face was incomparably ferocious as he said to the core elders, Elders, look. Lu Ming is so vicious. He actually crippled Chuan's cultivation. We must punish him severely. Severe punishment? Lu Yunxiong, are you here to be funny? Lu Ming sneered and said, just now, it was Lu Chuan who wanted to cripple my cultivation first. Don't tell me I can't fight back. Moreover, injuries are inevitable in a martial arts competition. You said it yourself. What the fuck are you talking about? Little bastard, what did you say? The great elder was so angry that the muscles on his face were trembling. You what? Hurry up and take your useless son away. Lu Ming berated. Too savage, too overbearing. Lu Ming actually dared to berate the first elder in front of so many people. He was simply audacious. But this was something he did on purpose. He knew that with so many people watching, the core elders of the elder compound would definitely not allow the first elder to act recklessly. Moreover, his current performance had most likely caught the attention of the Mystic Essence Sword Sex emissaries. even if the first elder really wanted to do something to him? The emissaries of the other compounds might not agree. Therefore, Lu Ming was unscrupulous. The first elder was so angry that he almost vomited blood. In the end, he had no choice but to take the crippled Lu Chuan down the platform. "Little bastard, after the clan meeting, I'll tear you and your mother into pieces." The first elder roared in his heart, not hiding the murderous intent in his eyes. Lu Ming turned around and looked at Lu Yao. He said indifferently, "Now, it's your turn." Lu Yao frowned and did not say anything, but her eyes were extremely gloomy. Lu Ming's combat strength was beyond her expectations. She suddenly had a feeling that today's matter was somewhat out of her control. The two of them looked at each other and a battle was about to break out. Around the martial arts practice field, everyone's eyes were fixed on the two people on the platform. Lu Yao had awakened a level 5 bloodline and opened 2 divine veins at the age of 15. The mystic essence sword sex 4 compounds had come for her. She had too many halos on her. It was not an exaggeration to say that she was the first in the history of Firestorm City. As for Lu Ming, he used to be the trash of the Lu clan, but today, he had repeatedly shocked everyone. Testing his will, climbing the steps of flames as if he was taking a stroll in the park, and even opening 3 divine veins. It could be said that this was the first time in the history of Firestorm City. Just a moment ago, he had defeated Lu Chuan in one move, which shocked everyone. The two of them were finally going to fight. Who would win? Everyone stared at them without blinking, including the emissaries of the 4 compounds and the 7 core elders of the Lu clan. The first elder's eyes were wide open, and murderous intent flickered in his eyes. Whoosh! On the platform, Lu Yao made the first move. Her figure moved like a graceful swan as she rushed towards Lu Ming. Her jade-like palm emitted a fiery red light as she struck towards Lu Ming. Boom! Lu Ming twisted his waist and punched out with the flame dragon fist. Bang! The fist and the palm collided, and a powerful force shot out in all directions. Lu Ming and Lu Yao's bodies trembled as they took 3 steps back. They were evenly matched in the first move. 4th layer martial warrior. It seems that the Duanmu clan has given Lu Yao a lot of resources in the past 2 months. As soon as they exchanged blows, Lu Ming sensed Lu Yao's cultivation. 4th layer martial warrior. In just 2 months, Lu Yao's cultivation had soared to the 4th layer martial warrior. In addition to her 5th level bloodline talent, the resources given by the Duanmu clan were definitely not small. But at this moment, Lu Yao was even more shocked because she realized that Lu Ming's cultivation was at the 3rd layer martial warrior. In just 2 months, Lu Ming went from a trash who couldn't condense his true chi to the 3rd layer martial warrior. It was unbelievable. No, I want to crush him. Lu Yao roared in her heart. With a clang, she unsheathed her sword. The sword turned into a ray of light and pierced toward Lu Ming. Lu clan's low-grade yellow-level martial technique, startling rainbow sword art. Lu Yao, it's a pity that you haven't mastered it yet. Lu Ming's indifferent voice rang out. He took a step forward and dodged Lu Yao's sword. Then, he punched out again. The fist whistled and went straight for Lu Yao's face. Lu Yao had no choice but to turn around and defend. Boom! Boom! Lu Ming punched out continuously, displaying the full potential of the flame dragon fist. Lu Ming's true chi was twice as strong and condensed as an ordinary true chi. When he used the flame dragon fist, there was an indestructible aura. In the first move, Lu Ming only used 50% of his strength. But now, it was 100%. For a moment, Lu Yao was forced to retreat. Lu Yao, is this all you've got? I'm really disappointed. Didn't you just say that you want me to show my true form first? So it turns out that you were just talking about it? Show me your true strength. You want to take over the Lu clan with such strength? Do you think you're worthy? Lu Ming's eyes were like lightning. His cold voice spread across the entire area, causing the crowd to boil. Lu Yao, the genius, was actually forced to retreat by Lu Ming. She was completely at a disadvantage. If they didn't see it with their own eyes, it would be hard to believe. Lu Yao bit her lips. Her eyes became colder and colder. She shouted, "Lu Ming, I'll show you my true strength." Buzz! Behind Lu Yao, a bright red light shone. Then, with a soft cry, a fiery red skylark appeared. On top of the skylark, there were 5 blood-red chakras. This was its bloodline, a level 5 bloodline. Then, the skylark landed on Lu Yao's body and merged with her. Lu Yao's aura suddenly skyrocketed. Bloodline eruption was an application of bloodline. It could greatly increase a martial artist's strength. The higher the bloodline grade, the greater the increase. A level 5 bloodline could increase one's strength by 50%. Whoosh! Lu Yao moved like a red lightning bolt and charged towards Lu Ming. Her sword light was aimed at Lu Ming's vital points. Then let's see whose sword technique is better. Lu Ming smiled calmly and unsheathed the obsidian sword on his back. The obsidian sword turned into a ray of light and slashed towards Lu Yao. Flowing light sword technique. Clang! The 2 swords clashed and Lu Yao's sword aura was scattered. Whoosh! Whoosh! Lu Ming's continuous sword gleam shrouded Lu Yao's entire body. Lu Yao could only try her best to defend. She was completely suppressed. Although Lu Yao's cultivation was higher than Lu Ming and she had even activated her bloodline, she was still completely suppressed by Lu Ming in terms of strength. 3 divine veins and the true qi of the true dragon of battle had completely suppressed Lu Yao. After more than 10 moves. Whoosh! Lu Ming's sword light pierced through like lightning and went straight for Lu Yao's throat. Lu Yao's face was pale and she couldn't dodge at all. At this moment, everyone's heart was in their mouth. Lu Yao, the genius of a generation, was going to fall? Whoosh! Suddenly, Lu Ming stopped. The cold tip of his sword was pressed against Lu Yao's throat. The cold tip of the sword and Lu Ming's cold killing intent made Lu Yao's eyes flash with fear. At this moment, Lu Yao's mind went blank. She knew that she had lost. Lu Yao lost. Lu Ming won completely. This is too shocking. I really didn't expect this. We've been cheated. We've all been cheated by the Lu family. If anyone dares to say that Lu Ming is trash in the future, I'll beat them up. Chapter 20. There was an uproar in the crowd. No one would have thought that Lu Ming, who was rumored to be a good-for-nothing in the Lu family, would defeat Lu Yao, the favored daughter of the heavens, in such a manner. Impossible. The great elder roared in disbelief. Initially, he thought that Lu Yao would be able to win this battle easily and take control of the Lu family. Never in his wildest dreams did he expect that this piece of trash, whose bloodline had been stolen by them 2 months ago, would actually be so powerful that she could defeat Lu Yao with ease. How could this be? Duan Muqing was also in disbelief. Duan Muqing, as long as one is a genius, nothing is impossible. Lu Ming has unlocked 3 divine meridians at such a young age. He even defeated Lu Yao, who was a 4th-level martial warrior and had unleashed his bloodline power. He is definitely a rare genius. Gao Shi said. That's right. Whether it's willpower, pulse examination, or martial arts, Lu Ming completely crushed Lu Yao in every aspect. Since Lu Yao has a marriage alliance with your White Tiger Hall, I won't fight with you. This Lu Ming, my Azure Dragon Hall wants him. Tai Zhong's eyes sparkled. Tai Zhong, what do you mean? What do you mean your Azure Dragon Hall wants him? Lu Ming, my Black Tortoise School wants him. Gao Shi glared at Tai Zhong before turning to Lu Ming and saying, Lu Ming, my Black Tortoise School sincerely welcomes your joining. I promise that as long as you join the Black Tortoise School, you can choose 2 Earth-level cultivation techniques and martial skills. Moreover, the upper echelons of the school will definitely accept you as a disciple and personally teach you. Lu Ming, my Azure Dragon Hall also welcomes you. As long as you join my Azure Dragon Hall, not only will you be able to choose Earth-level cultivation techniques and martial skills, you will also be able to enter the important secret cultivation grounds to cultivate. Tai Zhong threw out another bomb. The words of the two messengers spread throughout the crowd and caused another uproar. The two great halls had actually given up on Lu Yao and turned to fight for Lu Ming. Moreover, the conditions they offered were even higher than what they had offered Lu Yao. Obviously, the messengers of the two great halls valued Lu Ming more. Although Lu Ming could not awaken his bloodline, it did not mean that he could not awaken it in the Mystic Essence Sword sect. The Mystic Essence Sword sect had a long history and countless secret techniques. It wasn't as if there weren't any secret techniques that could allow one to awaken again. Lu Ming hadn't even awakened his bloodline, yet he already had such talent. Once he really awakened his bloodline, how high would his talent be? Moreover, although the bloodline was extremely important to a martial artist, it was not the only thing. In history, there had been martial artists who could not awaken their bloodline but had reached the peak of martial arts and become peerless experts. Therefore, even if Lu Ming really could not awaken his bloodline, his future achievements would not be low. The envoys of the two great academies were burning with passion. Duan Muqing's eyes flickered with annoyance. Unfortunately, the White Tiger sect would surely stand on Lu Yao's side. There was no way he would be able to marry Lu Ming. However, Lu Ming did not reply to the envoys from the two colleges. Instead, he looked at Lu Yao indifferently and said, "Lu Yao, I used to treat you and Lu Yunxiong as my family. I had absolute trust in both of you. However, in your hearts, I'm just a useless person with useful value. Not only that, but you also want to seize the position of the patriarch of the Lu clan. 2 months ago, you said that in this world, everything depends on strength. Whoever is stronger will have the right to speak. The weak will only be trampled on. Now, I'll return those words to you. You are just a weakling in front of me. You are not worthy to be my opponent, Lu Ming." Lu Ming's clear voice echoed throughout the hall. Every word that Lu Ming said was very clear. It was like a slap on Lu Yao's face. It was extremely loud and clear. "Huh, Lu Ming, don't be so arrogant here. Do you really think you can rise? I have the Duanmu clan behind me. What do you have to compete with me? Although I've lost temporarily, in a year, no, in half a year, I will surpass you and completely trample you under my feet." Lu Yao screamed hysterically. Because of her anger, her face was distorted. Being defeated, surpassed, and even looked down on by Lu Ming, a piece of trash that she had never taken seriously, she almost went crazy. "Lu Ming, put away your sword and get out of the fighting stage." The first elder roared. "Shut up, bitch. And Lu Yunxiong, what right do you have to speak?" Lu Ming's eyes were like lightning. He shouted with a murderous aura. With a shake of his sword, a shallow cut appeared on Lu Yao's neck, causing her face to turn pale. "How dare you! Lu Yao is the fiancé of the White Tiger clan's genius, Duan Mulin. You dare to hurt her? You're courting death." Duan Muqing shouted. However, Lu Ming did not even look at him. Instead, he looked at the 7 core elders. 7 core elders, do you know why I can't awaken my bloodline?" Lu Ming said. "Why can't you awaken your bloodline?" Many people were stunned. What other reason could there be for not awakening his bloodline? Wasn't it because of his own body? Could there be some other inside story? "Lu Ming, do you think there's some inside story?" The oldest core elder among the 7 core elders said. "Lu Ming, don't talk nonsense." Before Lu Ming could say anything, the first elder shouted. "Lu Yunxiong, shut your mouth." The oldest core elder shouted loudly. The first elder closed his mouth with an ugly expression. "That's because this heaven's chosen daughter, and this first elder pretended to be good to me. Then, they made me eat Yama pollen for 3 years to nourish my bloodline. That's why I can't awaken my bloodline. Then, after I failed to awaken my bloodline, they seized the opportunity to take my bloodline and merge it with their own. Otherwise, Lu Yao, how could you have awakened your bloodline? How could you have awakened it? Lu Ming's voice was very calm as he spoke the truth. His words caused a huge commotion. Everyone was shocked and the scene was in an uproar. Many people knew that Lu Ming had once been tested by a pulse detector. It was very likely that he had inherited his father's bloodline and could awaken his bloodline. However, it was indeed strange that he could not awaken his bloodline. At this moment, when Lu Ming said it, it made some sense. Beast, how dare you treat Ming, like this? The first to react was Li Ping. She was so angry that her body was trembling. Her eyes were red as she stared at the first elder and Lu Yao. Following that, tears flowed down her cheeks. She did not expect that Lu Ming's injury 2 months ago was caused by his bloodline being taken away. How painful would it be to have one's bloodline taken away? Is this true? The 7 core elders' faces darkened. Anger was brewing in their eyes. Lu Ming, you're slandering us. You're the useless one, but you're pushing all the blame on us. You're despicable and shameless. 7 core elders, Lu Ming's character is too bad. I suggest that we chase him out of the Lu family. The first elder roared. His eyes were shining with a cold light. That's right, Lu Ming. Do you think anyone will believe your nonsense? Lu Yao also said coldly. We'll know whether it's true after the test. Lu Yao, do you dare to test it? Lu Ming stared at Lu Yao with bright eyes. Lu Yao's face turned pale. Chapter 21. At this moment, everyone's gazes were on the first elder and Lu Yao. Lu Ming was right. They had used their blood to nourish their meridians for 3 years and then absorbed Lu Ming's bloodline. Lu Ming, who the hell do you think you are? Do you think we'll do it just because you say so? The first elder was still unwilling to give up. But the others weren't fools. How could they not guess from Lu Yao and the first elder's expressions? What Lu Ming said was most likely the truth. At this moment, the way everyone looked at Lu Yao and the first elder changed. Using blood to nourish one's meridians and then taking it away was definitely a great taboo in the martial world. It was too despicable and shameless. Lu Yunxiong. At this moment, the 7 core elders looked at the first elder with disappointment in their eyes. The oldest core elder was especially furious. He shouted, Lu Yunxiong, as the Lu clan's grand elder, how can you do such a despicable thing? How can you face our ancestors? If you continue to be the Lu clan's grand elder in the future, how will you be able to convince everyone? Today, the Elder Hall announces that Lu Yunxiong will be removed from his position as the first elder. Furthermore, Lu Yao will also be removed from her position as the Lu family's patriarch. What? You want to remove me from my position as the first elder? You actually want to remove me from my position because of that little bastard Lu Ming? Remember, Yao has already married the Duanmu family. The first elder roared, bringing up the Duanmu family. Duanmu Qing's expression was also very ugly. He looked at the 7 core elders and said, you should consider this carefully. Lu Yao and my Duanmu family are connected by marriage. Letting her become the Lu family's patriarch is a great honor for your Lu family. In the future, your Lu family might become even more prosperous. Doing this now is just digging your own grave. Duanmu Qing's words caused the expressions of the 7 core elders and the rest of the Lu family to change. They could ignore Lu Yao and the first elder, but they couldn't ignore the Duanmu family behind Lu Yao. The Duanmu family was too strong. It would be easy for the Mystic Origin Sword sect to destroy the Lu family. However, under such circumstances, if Lu Yao were to take over the position of the head of the family and even help Lu Yao deal with Lu Ming, then the Lu family would really become the laughingstock of Windy Fire City and even many cities in the vicinity. How should he choose? Pa. Suddenly, Mulan stood up, clapped her hands, and said, Duanmu Qing, how awe-inspiring. Do you think you can represent the Duanmu clan? Or perhaps, the Duanmu clan could represent the Mystic Essence Sword sect? Don't try to intimidate others. Let me tell you, I, Mulans, have the Lu family under my protection. I want to see what ability your Duanmu family has. Mulans, are you sure you want to be a busybody? Duanmu Qing's expression changed as he asked. I'm definitely going to get involved. Mulans coldly shouted. She was extremely domineering. Senior Duanmu. Duanmu Qing was about to say something when Lu Yao called out to him, Senior Duanmu, Lu Yao is willing to join the White Tiger sect. There's no need for a mere Lu clan. Duanmu Qing's eyes flickered as he said with a smile, that's right, there's no need for a mere Lu clan. With Lady Lu Yao's talent, you will surely set your sights on the entire Blazing Sun Empire in the future, or even step onto a bigger stage. Lu Yao nodded, before she turned to Lu Ming and said in an icy tone, Lu Ming, kill me today if you dare. Otherwise, I'll return the humiliation you've given me today tenfold. The humiliation I've given you? Lu Ming laughed and said, how ridiculous. You only have yourself to blame for what happened today. If you didn't take away my bloodline, would this have happened? Lu Yao, I won't kill you. I'll let you verify your words with your own eyes. There's an insurmountable gap between you and me. Besides, one day, I'll let you witness with your own eyes that I'll crush your so-called peerless genius Duanmu Lin under my feet. Now, you can leave. Lu Ming sheathed his sword. His confident and determined voice echoed throughout the place. Lu Ming, there's still a long way to go. Just you wait. Father, you and Big Brother will follow me to the Mystic Essence Sword sect. Lu Yao's icy voice resounded. Duanmu Qing's expression also turned cold as he looked at Lu Ming and said, Lu Ming, you? You can't even compare to Duanmu Lin's finger. I hope you won't join the Mystic Essence Sword sect. Otherwise, you'll realize how stupid and ignorant your words today are. Let's go. Roar. The red flaming tiger roared. Lu Yao and the first elder brought Lu Chuan and followed Duanmu Qing and the others on the red flaming tiger. They left in a sorry state, not even bothering to pack their things. As Lu Yao and the others left, the day's events came to an end. Although the other youths of the Lu clan had yet to start their duels, no one was paying attention to them. Today's events were full of twists and turns. It was out of everyone's expectations. Originally, most people thought that the main character of today's event would be Lu Yao. She would use the name of a genius to ascend to the position of the Lu clan's patriarch with her peerless talent. However, all of this had changed drastically because of one person. He was Lu Ming. He was the main character of today's event. Good, Lu Ming. You're domineering and confident enough. How about it? Join my Vermilion Bird Courtyard. In the future, you'll be able to defeat that so-called genius Duanmu Lin. Mulans clapped her hands. She didn't hide her admiration for Lu Ming at all. Then, she added, however, I won't agree to any of your conditions. A cultivator has to rely on himself to obtain everything. Everyone was speechless. Who would invite someone like that? How could she invite someone like that? However, Lu Ming's actions made them even more dumbfounded. He nodded and said, Hall Master Mu, I agree to join the Vermilion Bird Courtyard. The reason why he agreed to join Mulans was mainly to thank her for her help. Moreover, he was going to join a powerful sect to cultivate anyway. Only then would he have more resources. The Mystic Essence Sword sect gathered the geniuses of the 2,000 cities in the eastern part of the Blazing Sun Empire. Only by competing with the other geniuses on such a vast stage could Lu Ming go further on the path of martial arts. He would never achieve great things if he was content with staying in a small corner. Good. Mulans was overjoyed. Others thought that Lu Ming didn't have a bloodline, but she had long sensed that Lu Ming had a bloodline power in him. If such a genius joined the Vermilion Bird Courtyard, perhaps it would bring about a change in the Vermilion Bird Courtyard? Lu Ming, the only thing I can promise you is that after you join the Mystic Essence Sword sect, the elders of the Duanmu family won't dare to openly attack you. However, the younger generation of the Duanmu family will have to rely on you. Then, Mulan's waved her hand and a jade token flew to Lu Ming. She said, Lu Ming, 2 months later, take this jade token and go to the Mystic Essence Sword Sect's Vermilion Bird Courtyard. Then, you can join the Vermilion Bird Courtyard directly. On the jade token, a lifelike vermilion bird was engraved. Thank you, Hall Master Mu. Lu Ming clasped his fists and put away the jade token. It was enough. As long as the elders of the Duanmu family didn't attack him, it was enough. If he couldn't even pass the test of the younger generation of the Duanmu family, then what was the point of cultivating martial arts? Hee, Lu Ming, then I'll wait for you at the Mystic Essence Sword Sect. Mulan smiled coquettishly. Then, she got up and left the Lu family's martial arts practice field. Lu Ming, welcome to the Mystic Essence Sword Sect. I hope you'll become a powerhouse in the future. Gao Shi and Tai Zhong both got up and congratulated Lu Ming. Thank you, seniors. I'm very sorry that I didn't choose the Azure Dragon Courtyard or the Black Tortoise Courtyard today. Lu Ming bowed. It's okay. Gao Shi laughed. Lu Ming's attitude made the two of them very happy. This Lu Ming is not only talented, but he's also humble and upright. He'll definitely become a great person in the future. Both of them thought so in their hearts. Lu Ming, we'll meet again at the Mystic Essence Sword Sect. Lu Qian laughed. Then, Gao Shi, Tai Zhong, and Lu Qian left with their people. They were no longer in the mood to look at the other young people of the Lu family. After the emissaries left, the people of the Lu family were no longer in the mood. The ceremony ended hastily. However, everything that happened today was destined to shake the entire Fiery Wind City. Lu Ming's name would also set off a storm in Fiery Wind City. Chapter 22. The next day, Lu Ming, Li Ping, and Autumn Moon moved back to the main residence. Standing in front of the main residence, Lu Ming had a lot of thoughts. All of this was because of the increase in his strength. If he was still the trash whose bloodline was stolen, he wouldn't even be able to save his own life, let alone move back to the main residence. As for Li Ping and Autumn Moon, they wouldn't have a good life in the future. But because of his rise, everything changed. Not only did he destroy Lu Yunxiong and Lu Yao's plans, but he also took back the main residence. Li Ping's life in the future was also guaranteed. Lu Ming was the first successor of the Lu family. As long as he was willing, he could take over the position of patriarch at any time. But this was far from enough. Everything was just the beginning. Lu Ming knew that there was an even greater challenge waiting for him in the Mystic Essence Sword Sect. He couldn't slack off at all. Ming, let's go in. The room has been tidied up. Li Ping walked out with a sword in her hand and smiled. The elders' compound sent 4 young maids over to serve Li Ping and Lu Ming. Therefore, very soon, Lu Yao and the rest's belongings were cleared out of the main mansion. Ming, now that you've made progress in the martial Dao, take this spiritual weapon that your father sent back. Li Ping handed the sword in her hand to Lu Ming. This sword had been taken by Lu Chuan previously, but now it was back in their hands. Lu Ming nodded and took the sword. He walked in with Li Ping. After returning to the room, Lu Ming began to cultivate. A few days ago, he used the spiritual essence pill to raise his cultivation from the peak of martial warrior realm to the early stage of martial warrior realm. His foundation was unavoidably unstable, and he needed to consolidate it. After cultivating the true dragon art for a few hours, Lu Ming entered the Temple of Paragon and began to cultivate his martial arts techniques. In the blink of an eye, 7 days passed. One day, Lu Ming was practicing his martial arts in the Temple of Paragon when he sensed some movement outside. He went out of the Temple of Paragon. As soon as he came out, he heard Autumn Moon's voice. Young master, Lu Bing is here to see you. Lu Bing? Lu Ming was stunned. He opened the door and walked out. Autumn Moon nodded and said, Young master, do you want to meet him? Lu Ming smiled and said, of course, why wouldn't I? When he came to the living room, he saw Lu Bing pacing back and forth uneasily. Upon seeing Lu Bing smiled and said, "Young Master Ming, you're finally here." Noticing the change in the way Lu Bing addressed him, Lu Ming smiled faintly. He casually sat down at the head of the table and said, "What business do you have with me?" Lu Bing suddenly cupped his fists towards Lu Ming and said, "Young Master Ming, I came here today to apologize to you. In the past, I had eyes but failed to see. I didn't know young Master Ming's talent and offended you. I hope you won't take it to heart." "Lu Bing, was it the fifth elder who asked you to come?" Lu Ming said. Lu Bing smiled and said, "Yes, it was my father who asked me to come, but it was also my own idea. Young Master Ming, here are 5,000 taels of silver. I hope you can accept it." Lu Bing took out a stack of silver and handed it to Lu Ming. "All right, Autumn Moon, help me accept it." Lu Ming smiled. To be honest, Lu Bing didn't take it to heart. Since the other party gave him silver as an apology, why wouldn't he accept it? Autumn Moon stepped forward and took the silver. Her small face was flushed with excitement. She had never seen so many silver. Although Lu Bing was extremely pained, he still squeezed out a smile and said, "Thank you, young Master Ming. Then I'll take my leave. Young Master, the head of the Li family is here to see you." As soon as Lu Bing left, another maid came to report. "The head of the Li family, Li Fu." Lu Ming frowned. He had a very bad impression of this Li Fu. "Have you informed madam?" Lu Ming asked. The maid said, "Yes, I have." At this time, Li Ping walked over and said, "Ming, your uncle is here. Let's meet him." Lu Ming nodded and then ordered the maid to bring Li Fu in. Little sister, Ming, I'm here to see you." As soon as he came in, Li Fu laughed. His face was full of smiles. Those who didn't know would think that his relationship with Lu Ming was very good, very close. "Big brother," Li Ping called out. But Lu Ming had a cold smile on his face. He sat casually and said, "Head of the Li family, what brings you to the Lu family today? Don't tell me you're here to see a trash like me?" Ahem. Li Fu coughed a few times. His old face was slightly red. He laughed dryly and said, "Ming, is such a genius, how can he be trash? If someone says that again, I'll break their legs. Ming, your uncle was old and muddle-headed. That's why I listened to other people's rumors. I hope you don't take it to heart." Lu Ming suddenly realized that another one had come to apologize. This time, Lu Ming's performance was indeed very shocking. Although he had offended the Duanmu family, Lu Ming had won the favor of Mulans of the Elixir Hall. His future achievements were uncertain. Moreover, at least now, Lu Ming was definitely the successor of the Lu family. Therefore, Lu Bing, Li Fu, and those who had offended him before could not sit still and came to reconcile and apologize. In the world of martial arts, the strong were respected. This was vividly reflected in this moment. "Big brother, don't worry. Ming won't take it to heart," Li Ping said with a happy smile on her face. Li Fu took out a jade bottle and said, "That's good. Little sister, I've prepared 10 qi gathering pills this time. It's just a small token of my appreciation. Please accept it." Qi gathering pills, lower grade level 2 pills, cost 2,000 silver taels each. 10 pills would be 20,000 silver taels. It seemed that Li Fu had really put in a lot of money this time. 20,000 silver taels was equivalent to half a year's income of the Li family. The biggest family in Firestorm City, the Lu family, only had a yearly income of 200,000 silver taels. "Thank you very much." Lu Ming received it directly. Originally, Lu Ming did not want to bother with Li Fu. However, the Li family was Li Ping's family after all. Lu Ming could see that Li Ping still cared about the Li family's attitude. Li Ping was obviously very happy that Li Fu came to apologize. Therefore, for Li Ping's sake, Lu Ming had to pretend. It would be a waste not to accept these 10 qi-gathering pills. Seeing that Lu Ming accepted it, Li Fu was finally relieved. Although 20,000 silver taels made his heart ache, it was still an investment. If Lu Ming really rose in the future, his Li family would not be too sad. If he had known that Lu Ming had such talent, he would not have offended Lu Ming like that. After chatting for a while, Li Fu said goodbye and left. Autumn Moon, how many meridians have you opened? After Li Fu left, Lu Ming quickly asked Autumn Moon. Li Ping also looked at Autumn Moon curiously. Young master, madam, I opened 8 meridians yesterday. Autumn Moon replied. What? Lu Ming and Li Ping were shocked. They stared at Autumn Moon with their mouths agape. The first few meridians were relatively easy to open, but the later meridians were more difficult. In just over 10 days, Autumn Moon had opened 8 meridians. The key was that he was practicing the qi gathering technique, a basic cultivation technique. Moreover, he did not take any pills. This kind of talent was too amazing. Could it be that Autumn Moon can open meridians without relying on his bloodline? Lu Ming could not help but think so. Mother, Autumn Moon, don't tell anyone about this for now. Lu Ming said to Li Ping and Autumn Moon. Chapter 23. The next day, Lu Ming went to the Lu family's library and chose a low-grade yellow rank skill, Cloud Jade Technique, for Autumn Moon. It wasn't that Lu Ming was stingy and couldn't bear to give the True Dragon of Battle Technique to Autumn Moon. It was just that the True Dragon of Battle Technique was too domineering and wasn't suitable for Autumn Moon. If the skill wasn't suitable, it wouldn't be useful no matter how high grade it was. Sometimes, it would even backfire. Cloud Jade Technique was soft but firm. It was suitable for Autumn Moon. In addition, Lu Ming also chose a book for Qiu Yu called the Jinghong Swordplay, which was a low-grade yellow-level martial technique. Now, no one in the Lu family would say a word about which cultivation method or martial technique Lu Ming wanted to choose. After choosing a skill, Lu Ming went to the spiritual medicine hall to buy a batch of dragon tiger pills for Autumn Moon to help her cultivate. When he was buying the dragon tiger pills, Lu Ming realized that Mulan's was no longer in the spiritual medicine hall. According to the people in the spiritual medicine hall, Mulan's had returned to the Mystic Essence Sword sect. Mulan's became the hall master of the spiritual medicine hall as a trial. Now that the trial was over, she naturally returned to the Mystic Essence Sword sect. After handing over the skills and pills to Autumn Moon, Lu Ming returned to his room and entered the Temple of Paragon. He swallowed a qi-gathering pill and started cultivating. Like other pills, the moment the qi-gathering pill entered the mouth, a strong suction force came from the spine. It absorbed the medicinal properties of the qi-gathering pill and refined the impurities. Pure energy surged into the body and was converted by Lu Ming into true qi. Qi-gathering pill was a low-grade level 2 pill. It was much stronger than the dragon tiger pill, but much weaker than the spirit reinforcing pill. Lu Ming's cultivation continued to rise. However, Lu Ming's true qi was 2 times more condensed than ordinary true qi. If he wanted to raise his cultivation, he would need 3 times more energy than ordinary true qi. In other words, if Lu Ming wanted to increase his cultivation, he would need to consume 3 times more energy than an ordinary person. There was nothing they could do about it. Being strong meant that they had to pay a higher price. After refining all 10 energy amassing pills, Lu Ming's cultivation base broke through from the early stage of martial warrior 3rd rank to the early stage of martial warrior 4th rank. This was a total of 20,000 silver taels. Lu Ming had only managed to increase his rank by 1 level. This could be considered extravagant. No one else could afford it. Even the elite disciples of the Lu clan could only receive 2 qi amassing pills a year. Lu Ming was not satisfied with this speed at all. After using up 10 qi amassing pills, Lu Ming went to the spirit medicine hall and bought 30 qi amassing pills in one go. Even with a 10% discount, he still spent a total of 54,000 taels of silver. All of a sudden, Lu Ming was left with less than 15,000 taels of silver from the 130,000 taels of silver that he had obtained from the Viper bandits. After buying the pills, Lu Ming continued to cultivate. The higher one's cultivation base, the more energy they needed to increase it. When Lu Ming had refined all 30 energy amassing pills, Lu Ming's cultivation base had risen to the early stage of martial warrior 6th rank. After consolidating his cultivation base, more than a month had passed. There was only half a month left before the Mystic Essence Sword sect opened its doors to accept disciples. In this month, Lu Ming had gained a lot. Not only did his cultivation base increase rapidly, but his martial skills also improved by leaps and bounds. The Flame Dragon Fist and Dragon Snake Steps had both reached the 5th level, reaching perfection. As for the high-grade yellow rank Flowing Light Sword art, he had also reached the 4th level, reaching perfection. Lu Ming's strength had increased by leaps and bounds compared to a month and a half ago. But the most shocking thing was Autumn Moon. In this month, with the help of the Cloud Jade Arts and the Dragon Tiger Pills, Autumn Moon had actually opened 3 divine veins, leaving Lu Ming and Li Ping dumbfounded. The reason why Lu Ming could open 3 divine veins was because of the divine rank art of the Battle Dragon and the strange bloodline that had yet to fully mature. But Autumn Moon's bloodline had yet to awaken, and she was still cultivating a low-grade yellow rank art. This was too terrifying. But no matter what, Lu Ming and Li Ping were extremely happy for Autumn Moon. On this day, Lu Ming prepared to leave for the Mystic Essence Sword sect. "Mother, here's 10,000 taels of silver. Keep it for future use." In the courtyard, Lu Ming took out 10,000 taels of silver and handed it to Li Ping. "Ming, what are you doing? You're about to go to the Mystic Essence Sword sect. You'll need a lot of money for your cultivation in the future. Why are you giving it to me? I don't lack anything in the Lu family." Li Ping hurriedly pushed the silver back to Lu Ming. Lu Ming smiled. "Mother, Ming had a fortuitous encounter. I don't lack money at all. Keep it and use it slowly in the future." Looking at Lu Ming's confident and determined eyes, Li Ping did not refuse and kept the silver. Looking at the energetic Lu Ming in front of her, Li Ping was extremely relieved and proud. Her son finally had a bright future. "Ming, let Autumn Moon accompany you to the Mystic Essence Sword sect this time," Li Ping said with a gentle smile after thinking for a while. "Madam, who will take care of you if I leave?" Autumn Moon's face changed. "Silly girl, don't I have Chun Tao and the other 3 now? Why would I be afraid that no one will take care of me? Moreover, with your martial arts talent, it would be a waste for you to stay by my side." Li Ping patted Autumn Moon's head and said gently, "Madam." Tears welled up in Autumn Moon's eyes as she rolled her eyes. Lu Ming sighed. Indeed, with Autumn Moon's martial arts talent, it would be a waste for her to stay in the Lu family. Lu Ming also had the same plan. He wanted to bring Autumn Moon to the Mystic Essence Sword sect to see if she could join the Mystic Essence Sword sect. Perhaps there would be someone in the Mystic Essence Sword sect who could help Autumn Moon awaken her bloodline. "All right, Ming, it's getting late. You should leave now," Li Ping said. "Mother, we'll leave first. Take care of yourself." Lu Ming was also reluctant to part with her. "Go, be careful," Li Ping said with a smile. "Madam, take care of yourself. Autumn Moon will come back to visit you," Autumn Moon said with tears in her eyes. "Go." Li Ping nodded and smiled. Lu Ming nodded and did not say much. He turned around and left with Autumn Moon. Some things did not depend on words, but on actions. Looking at Lu Ming's back view as he left, Li Ping's eyes were slightly red. She muttered to herself softly, "Ming, I believe that the next time I see you, you will already be a true powerhouse, just like your father." Lu Ming brought Autumn Moon to the Lu family stables. As Autumn Moon had never learned how to ride a horse, she only took a green scale horse and left the city. Outside the windy Fire City, Lu Ming shook the reins and the green scale horse rushed out like a gust of wind. The vast land was boundless. Lu Ming leaned against Qiu Yu in his arms, smelling the faint fragrance of Qiu Yu's hair as they galloped between heaven and earth. Instantly, a sense of pride and lofty ambition grew in his heart. Lying on a beauty's lap while drunk, traveling the world with a sword, repaying favors and taking revenge, accompanied by a beauty, this was the dream of all men. A man's dream was always in the martial world. A pot of wine, a song of sorrow, a lifetime of insolence. A hero traveling the world with a sword, blood staining the blue sky. In this life, since Lu Ming had obtained the Temple of Paragon and rose to power, Lu Ming would not be satisfied with being ordinary. Chapter 24. The green-scaled horse was covered in green scales and possessed the bloodline of a demonic beast. It was extremely strong and could travel 3,000 miles in a day. 10 days later, Lu Ming and Autumn Moon arrived at Mystic Sword City. Mystic Sword City was only 50 miles away from the Mystic Sword Sect. It was the closest city to the Mystic Sword Sect, so it was extremely prosperous. The population and area were more than 10 times that of Firestorm City. Caravans from other parts of the Blazing Sun Empire came and went. It was very lively. The streets were wide enough for 10 beast carriages to travel side by side. On both sides of the streets, there were shops. It was the first time Lu Ming and Autumn Moon had come to such a big city. The two of them were like country bumpkins entering the city. They were extremely curious and looked around. After walking for half a day, their stomachs were growling. The two of them found a restaurant and walked in. The restaurant was 3 stories high. The interior was elegantly decorated. The two of them walked up to the 3rd floor. On the 3rd floor, more than half of the tables were already occupied. When Lu Ming and Autumn Moon walked in, everyone's eyes lit up. Lu Ming had a slender figure and a delicate face. He was wearing a swordsman's robe and looked very handsome. Autumn Moon had a graceful figure and was pure and charming. Walking together with Lu Ming, they looked like a golden couple. There were 2 young men sitting at one of the tables. One of them was wearing a brocade robe and had a jade belt around his waist. He looked very noble and was about 17 or 18 years old. The other one was about the same age. He was skinny and dressed like a servant. When the brocade-robed young man saw Lu Ming and Autumn Moon walk in, his eyes lit up. To be more precise, he was staring at Autumn Moon with a burning gaze. When he looked at Lu Ming, his eyes revealed a trace of killing intent. A flower stuck in cow dung. The brocade-robed young man muttered. Lu Ming and Autumn Moon naturally did not notice the gazes of others. The two of them found a table by the window and sat down. They then ordered a few dishes and a pot of wine and started eating. Young master, there are so many people in Mystic Sword City. Autumn Moon raised her wine cup and took a sip. Her cheeks instantly turned red as she looked at Lu Ming with misty eyes. Lu Ming also raised his cup and drank it. He then said, "Yes, there are only 2 days until the Mystic Sword Sect's annual disciple recruitment." Right at this moment, the young master in embroidered clothes raised his wine cup and walked over with the thin young man. "Miss." The young master in brocade clothes raised his wine cup and said. However, his eyes were wandering all over Qiu Yu's body. He didn't hide the heat in his eyes. Qiu Yu instantly felt uncomfortable when Wei Ziming looked at her like that. She felt disgusted and said, "I'm sorry, I drank just now. I don't want to drink now." Being rejected by Qiu Yu on the spot, Wei Ziming's face immediately darkened. "Stupid girl, what do you mean? Our young master asked you to accompany him to drink because he thinks highly of you. Don't be so shameless." The skinny young man beside Wei Ziming shouted coldly. He then turned to Lu Ming and shouted, "Kid, why are you still sitting there? Hurry up and scram to the side. My young master wants your position." Lu Ming frowned. These 2 people were really arrogant. Lu Ming didn't say a word and the 2 of them asked him to get lost. Where did this wild dog come from? Why is it barking and barking here? Lu Ming lifted his wine cup and took another sip, speaking coldly. Kid, how dare you talk to me like that? You're courting death. The skinny young man's face was extremely ugly. He shouted and grabbed at Lu Ming's throat with his fingers like an eagle's claws. The claws tore through the air, creating a chi-chi sound. It was incomparably sharp, and it was a killing move from the very start. If Lu Ming's throat was grabbed by him, it would definitely be broken. He was really overbearing. He was just a servant and he wanted to kill him. Just a second-layer martial warrior. Get lost. Lu Ming shouted coldly and slapped. This slap landed heavily on the skinny young man's face. The skinny young man screamed and his body flew out and fell to the ground. This caused the others in the restaurant to be stunned. Then, they started to whisper among themselves. Who is this kid? He even dared to hit Wei Ziming's servant? How dare he? Wei Ziming is the young master of the city lord of Fire City. This kid is finished. I guess this kid doesn't know Wei Ziming's background. Otherwise, he wouldn't dare to hit Wei Ziming's servant. After all, you have to look at the owner before beating a dog. The discussions around naturally reached Lu Ming's ears. Lu Ming suddenly realized that they were from Fire City. No wonder they were so arrogant. There were tens of thousands of cities in the Sun Empire. According to their size, they were divided into different levels. They were mainly divided into low-level, mid-level, and high-level. Fire City was a low-level city. Many people might not have heard of it. However, Fire City was a high-level city. It was powerful and famous in the eastern part of the Sun Empire. Ah! Kid, you dare to hit me? You're dead. You're dead. The skinny young man shouted crazily. Wei Ziming's face was even gloomier. His eyes flashed with cold killing intent. He stared at Lu Ming and said, Kid, do you know? I'm the young master of the city lord's mansion. I just found out. Lu Ming said calmly. Oh. So you didn't know just now. But it's not too late to know now. Now, kneel down and apologize. Slap yourself 30 times. Then, leave this girl behind and get lost immediately. I can consider letting you go. Wei Ziming said confidently. He believed that Lu Ming would definitely agree after knowing his identity. However, in the next moment, he was stunned. This was because Lu Ming merely glanced at him casually and said lightly, I originally thought that your dog was a fool. It turns out that you are even more foolish than him. Now, get out of my sight immediately. Otherwise, I will slap you too. Everyone in the restaurant fell silent. Wei Ziming was arrogant, but they didn't expect Lu Ming to be even more arrogant. Kid, how dare you trick me? You're courting death. Wei Ziming was furious. He slapped Lu Ming's face. His palm contained a huge amount of true qi. His cultivation of a 5th-grade martial warrior was undoubtedly revealed. However, before he could slap, Lu Ming grabbed his wrist. Crack. Then, the sound of bones breaking was heard. A heart-wrenching pain was felt, causing Wei Ziming to howl in pain. Ah! My hand! Bastard, let go of me. I want you to die without a burial place. Wei Ziming howled in pain. Slap. However, in the next moment, Lu Ming slapped him in the face, causing Wei Ziming's screams to stop abruptly. Wei Ziming widened his eyes and stared blankly at Lu Ming. He was dumbstruck. He didn't expect Lu Ming to really slap him. I said, if you don't get lost, I'll slap you too. Lu Ming's calm voice sounded. Then, slap. Another slap was heard, this time on the other side of Wei Ziming's face. Suddenly, both sides of Wei Ziming's face swelled up like a pig's head. Chapter 25. Hiss, gasps could be heard from the crowd. On the 3rd floor, everyone looked at Lu Ming in shock. Previously, when Lu Ming slapped the skinny young man away, everyone guessed that Lu Ming dared to attack because he didn't know Wei Ziming. If he knew Wei Ziming's identity, Lu Ming wouldn't have dared to attack. But they never expected that Lu Ming would still dare to attack Wei Ziming after knowing his identity. Moreover, he was even more ruthless. He was too arrogant and domineering. Wei Ziming stood up awkwardly. He suppressed his anger and looked at Lu Ming with hatred. "Kid, if you have guts, leave your name." Lu Ming. Lu Ming smiled faintly and said his name calmly. He wasn't even afraid of the Duanmu family, so why would he be afraid of the Wei family? "Fine, we'll see." Wei Ziming gritted his teeth and said viciously. Then, he went downstairs with the skinny young man. "In my opinion, this Wei Ziming won't let this go. He'll definitely take revenge. That's for sure." Wei Wucheng has always been domineering. This time, Wei Ziming suffered such a big loss. How could he let it go so easily? Wei Ziming's younger brother, Wei Ziyou, is a rare genius of the Wei family. This time, he also came to participate in the Mystic Essence Sword Sect's disciple recruitment exam. He's known as the top 100 experts in this batch of newcomers. After Wei Ziming left, there was a lot of discussion in the restaurant. But Lu Ming just smiled faintly and continued to eat and drink with Chiu Yu. Outside the restaurant, Wei Ziming's face was gloomy and vicious. "Eldest young master, should we find second young master and ask him to deal with this person?" the skinny young man asked. "Of course we should tell second brother. But we don't have to do it now. Mystic Essence Sword Sect's disciple recruitment exam is in 2 days. After the exam, the Mystic Essence Sword Sect will hold a trial for the new disciples except for Qilin Courtyard. At that time, second brother will kill this Lu Ming in the trial. I want him to die in despair right after he joins the Mystic Essence Sword Sect," Wei Ziming said viciously. After Lu Ming and Autumn Moon finished eating, they strolled around the profound Sword City for a while, then found an inn and booked 2 rooms. After entering the room, Lu Ming sat down cross-legged. Feeling the numbness and itchiness coming from his spine, Lu Ming's face showed a hint of joy. After almost 4 months, he finally felt that his bloodline was about to fully grow out. There was only 1 step left. Lu Ming felt that it would take at least 3 to 5 days, and at most half a month for the bloodline to completely grow out. His bloodline had not yet grown, but it already had all kinds of strange effects. Lu Ming was very much looking forward to what kind of abilities his bloodline would have once it was fully grown. What level of bloodline could it be? After silently sensing it for a while, Lu Ming began to circulate the true art of fighting dragon and began to cultivate. Between heaven and earth, the spiritual energy converged towards Lu Ming. Time passed, and night fell. The inn fell into silence. Whoosh! Whoosh! Suddenly, Lu Ming opened his eyes, because he heard the sound of something tearing through the air coming from outside the room. Although the sound was very soft, it still did not escape Lu Ming's ears. 5 figures stopped outside Lu Ming's room. 2 figures at the door and 3 figures outside the window. Then, the door and window opened at the same time. 5 figures pounced in like lightning. 5 slender black swords shone with a cold light, piercing towards Lu Ming's 5 vital points. Their attacks were fast, accurate, and ruthless. They were obviously well-trained assassins. Pust! Just as the 5 figures pounced, Lu Ming moved. His body exploded, and the black-edged sword turned into a stream of light, disappearing in a flash. Pust! Blood splattered everywhere. One of the assassins had his throat slashed by Lu Ming. Pust pust. Immediately after, the sword gleam flashed again, like a bolt of lightning in the dark. Immediately after, another 2 killers were killed by Lu Ming. Killing 3 people in an instant was not because these assassins were weak. On the contrary, these assassins were not weak at all. The 3 assassins killed by Lu Ming just now were at the 6th level of the martial warrior realm. The remaining 2 were at the 7th level of the martial warrior realm. With such strength, Even an 8th-level martial warrior expert would be killed under a joint attack. It was just that Lu Ming was stronger and had already discovered them. Not good, the target's strength is inconsistent with the information we received. Retreat. One of the assassins exclaimed and quickly retreated. Since you're here, stay here. Lu Ming's voice was cold. As soon as his voice fell, he used the dragon snake steps. With a step, he appeared behind an assassin. With a slash of his sword, the assassin's head fell to the ground. Then, he took a few steps and caught up with another assassin. Go to hell. Seeing that he could not escape, the last assassin roared and rushed towards Lu Ming without caring about his life. Boom! The flame dragon fist exploded and 2 consecutive punches landed on the assassin's body. The assassin was sent flying backward and crashed heavily into the wall, vomiting large mouthfuls of blood. Speak, who are you? Who sent you? Lu Ming asked coldly. Hee, there's no harm in telling you. We're from the Shadow Wolf Pavilion. Someone paid for your life. As for who paid, don't even think about it. Lu Ming, just wait for the endless pursuit of our Shadow Wolf Pavilion. At this point, the assassin spat out a mouthful of black blood. He had actually committed suicide by swallowing poison. Shadow Wolf Pavilion? Lu Ming frowned slightly. Lu Ming had heard of the Shadow Wolf Pavilion before. It was one of the 4 major assassin organizations in the Blazing Sun Empire. It was extremely powerful and specialized in killing people for money. However, it was extremely secretive and no one knew where the headquarters of the Shadow Wolf Pavilion was. Therefore, countless people hated these 4 assassin organizations, but they could not eliminate them. Some people even said that these 4 assassin organizations were supported by the 5 major sections. They were nurtured by the 5 major sects to assassinate the geniuses of the enemy forces. However, these were merely rumors. No one knew the truth. Who paid the assassin of the Shadow Wolf Pavilion to assassinate me? Lu Ming frowned. The first thing he thought of was Lu Yao, Lu Yunxiong, and the Duanmu family. These people were the most likely culprits. There was also Wei Ziming. However, the possibility of it being Wei Ziming was not high. Wei Ziming more or less knew about his strength. However, the assassin just now had called out to Lu Ming. His strength did not match the information he had received. Therefore, the most likely culprits were Lu Yao, Lu Yunxiong, and the Duanmu family. Looks like this Mystic Essence Sword sect is really turbulent. Lu Ming sneered. A glint of murderous intent flashed across his eyes. Young master, are you all right? Qiao Yu walked out of the room. When she saw the corpse lying on the ground, she was shocked. The commotion just now had already alerted the others in the inn. Qiao Yu, let's go. Let's change to another inn. Lu Ming pulled Qiao Yu, jumped down from the inn's window, and ran forward. The 2 of them walked in the dark. Half an hour later, the 2 of them checked into another inn. For the next 2 days, the 2 of them did not leave the inn. Other than eating, they were cultivating in seclusion. In the blink of an eye, 2 days had passed. Chapter 26. The Mystic Essence Sword sect was divided into 5 compounds. Each compound occupied a majestic mountain peak. They were the Qilan Peak in the center, the Azure Dragon Peak in the east, the White Tiger Peak in the west, the Vermilion Bird Peak in the south, and the Black Tortoise Peak in the north. However, the entrance examination was held at the front mountain of the 5 compounds. This was the entrance of the Mystic Essence Sword sect. When Lu Ming and Qiao Yu arrived, there was already a sea of people. It was bustling with activity and there were heads everywhere. Most of them were in their teens. There were at least tens of thousands of them. At the foot of the mountain, there were 2 wide mountain paths that led to the Mystic Essence Sword sect. Those who have a recommendation jade token, go to the right. Those who don't, go to the left to participate in the examination. A handsome young man with a long sword on his back shouted. Lu Ming had learned that those who had a recommendation jade token did not need to participate in the examination. They could join the Mystic Essence Sword sect directly. Because a recommendation jade token meant that an expert from the Mystic Essence Sword sect had already passed the examination. They were all talented people. Otherwise, they would not have been given a recommendation jade token so easily. Lu Ming had a recommendation jade token from Mulan's. Naturally, he did not need to participate in the examination. Autumn Moon, go and participate in the examination. Lu Ming said to Autumn Moon. Yes, young master. Autumn Moon nodded. Good luck. Lu Ming smiled and cheered for Autumn Moon. The examination consisted of many things, such as willpower, meridians, bloodline, and so on. There was even a professional pulse tester there. Even if one had not awakened their bloodline, the pulse tester could roughly estimate the level of their bloodline. This was an opportunity for Autumn Moon. Who knew what bloodline she had? Qiao Yu nodded her head vigorously, then walked to the left. There was a long line of people on the left side of the mountain path. Lu Ming had been waiting outside for Autumn Moon's result. Sigh. Why are the requirements so high? Looks like I won't have the chance to join the Mystic Essence Sword sect. From time to time, Lu Ming could see people coming out from inside. They were all sighing, and some were even wailing. Obviously, these people were those who failed the test. Slowly, the Autumn Moon disappeared into the mountain path with the team. A moment later, 3 rainbows suddenly shot out from the depths of the mountain path on the left. The rainbow soared into the sky, breaking through the clouds. Rainbow piercing the sun. 3 rainbows meant that he had opened 3 divine veins. Is it Mid-Autumn Moon? Lu Ming's eyes lit up. Meanwhile, the entrance of the Mystic Essence Sword sect was in an uproar because of the 3 streaks of light. 3 rainbows, someone has opened 3 holy veins. Genius, there's actually such a genius in this generation? I've been stuck at the pinnacle of the meridian opening realm for 2 years, and I've only managed to open 6 major acupoints of the first meridian. As long as this person is willing, he will definitely be able to enter the Qilin courtyard. Everyone looked in that direction as they discussed animatedly. Caw. At this moment, a huge white crane flew out from the depths of the Mystic Essence Sword sect and landed where the rainbows had shot out. The big shots of the Mystic Essence Sword sect had been alerted. This genius is going to reach the heavens in a single bound. Someone sighed, his eyes filled with envy. Looks like it won't be a problem for Mid-Autumn Moon to join the Mystic Essence Sword sect. Lu Ming smiled and strode toward the mountain path on the right. The entrance to the mountain path on the right was also guarded by Mystic Essence Sword sect disciples. However, there were very few people on this path, and Lu Ming easily entered after taking out his recommendation jade token. He followed the mountain path and went up diagonally. However, before long, another rainbow soared into the sky from the left. This time, it was 2 rainbows. However, it wasn't over yet. Not long after, another 2 rainbows soared into the sky. Looks like there are quite a few geniuses in this batch. Even Lu Ming was surprised to see a genius who had opened 2 divine veins consecutively. After all, there were many people who had recommendation jade tokens and didn't need to take the test, such as him. How many geniuses were there among these people? This batch of people was really full of geniuses. This is interesting. Lu Ming's eyes flashed with a hint of fighting spirit. He continued to walk forward. Not long after, he reached the end of the mountain path and a wide square appeared in front of him. At this moment, there were more than 1,000 people in the square. There were 4 paths in the square. Beside the paths stood a huge stone tablet. The stone tablet was about 10 meters tall, and it was carved with the azure dragon, white tiger, vermilion bird, and black tortoise. The only thing missing was the path to the Qilin courtyard. Black Tortoise Courtyard, this is the Black Tortoise Courtyard. Junior brothers, come and join the Black Tortoise Courtyard. I guarantee that there will be many benefits. A few young men were shouting at the entrance of the Black Tortoise Courtyard. White Tiger Courtyard, joining the White Tiger Courtyard is the best choice. The White Tiger Courtyard is the strongest courtyard other than the Qilin Courtyard. Come to the Azure Dragon Courtyard, the oldest of the 5 courtyards. Vermilion Bird Courtyard, there are many beauties in the Vermilion Bird Courtyard. The shouts rose and fell one after another. The 4 courtyards were all trying to recruit people. The competition between the 4 courtyards was very intense. The new disciples were fresh blood and represented the future. To a courtyard, their role was self-evident. At this time, the new disciples could freely choose to join a courtyard. Of course, Lu Ming was an exception. He had a recommendation jade token. They already belonged to whichever courtyard they had obtained the jade token from. Among the 5 courtyards, only the Qilin Courtyard was an exception. Among the 5 courtyards, the Qilin Courtyard was high above and extremely mysterious. It was not something that you could join just because you wanted to. Those who could join the Qilin Courtyard were all top geniuses. Of course, the Qilin Courtyard had the fewest people. Very few people knew how many disciples the Qilin Courtyard accepted every year. Suddenly, Lu Ming's eyes moved. Near the entrance of the White Tiger Courtyard, Lu Yao was wearing a white dress. She was surrounded by many young men and women like the stars surrounding the moon. That's Lu Yao. I heard that she awakened a 5th-rank bloodline and opened 2 divine veins. She has already married the peerless genius of the Duanmu family, Duanmu Lin. She has truly become a phoenix. Yeah, I'm so envious. If it were me, I would wake up laughing in my dreams. You? How could Duanmu Lin take a fancy to you? Near Lu Ming, some young men were discussing softly. A few young ladies, especially, were filled with envy. Lu Yao was chatting and laughing wittily in the crowd. When her gaze swept past Lu Ming, she obviously saw Lu Ming. Her face darkened and a cold glint flashed in her eyes. Subsequently, Lu Yao looked at the crowd surrounding her and then at Lu Ming. Her eyes revealed a trace of mockery. However, Lu Ming only smiled casually. At this moment, a bird's cry sounded in the sky. Subsequently, a white crane flew over gracefully. The white crane was extremely huge, far larger than an ordinary white crane. When it spread its wings, it reached a terrifying height of over 20 meters. There were 2 figures standing on the white crane. One was a middle-aged woman wearing a golden silk robe, and the other was a beautiful young lady. Autumn Moon. Seeing the young lady, Lu Ming was overjoyed. Golden silk robe. That's the golden-robed elder. It's really the golden-robed elder. Who's that young lady? Even the golden-robed elder is alarmed. She must be a top genius. Who are they looking for? Chapter 27. In the Mystic Essence Sword sect, the elders were divided into ordinary elders, silver-robed elders, and golden-robed elders. Silver-robed elders were already part of the upper echelons of the Mystic Essence Sword sect. They were the backbone of the sect. As for golden-robed elders, they were the founding elders of the Mystic Essence Sword sect. They were existences that suppressed the sect and were very few in number. They would rarely appear unless there was a major event. They would focus on cultivating in seclusion. And now, a golden-robed elder had appeared in front of them. Everyone's gaze was fixed on the 2 people on the white crane. They wanted to know who they were looking for. On the white crane, Autumn Moon's gaze was searching. In the end, it landed on Lu Ming. Young master. Autumn Moon's face was filled with joy. With a shout, the white crane landed not far away from Lu Ming. Autumn Moon jumped down and ran to Lu Ming. At this moment, everyone's gaze landed on Lu Ming again. In the distance, Lu Yao had also recognized Autumn Moon. Her face instantly turned gloomy. Why is this lowly maid with the golden-robed elder? Lu Yao's eyes were filled with doubt. Autumn Moon. Lu Ming's face also revealed a smile. He asked, Autumn Moon, have you passed the test? Yes, and this senior wants me to join the Qilin courtyard. But I don't want to. I want to join the Vermilion Bird courtyard with young master. Autumn Moon said. Autumn Moon can join the Qilin courtyard? Lu Ming was overjoyed. However, he purposely put on a stern face and said, Silly girl, others can't even join the Qilin courtyard. You don't want to join? Listen to young master and join the Qilin courtyard. But young master, Autumn Moon can't bear to leave you. Autumn Moon's eyes turned red. Silly girl, we are all in the Mystic Essence Sword sect. It's not like we can't see each other anymore. Moreover, once you join the Qilin courtyard, as long as you succeed in your cultivation, there will be plenty of chances to see each other in the future. Also, Autumn Moon, what's up with your bloodline? Is the test out? Lu Ming comforted Autumn Moon and asked. The test results are out. This senior said that I might have a special bloodline and told me not to tell anyone. However, young master is not just anyone. Autumn Moon whispered into Lu Ming's ear. A special bloodline. Mid-Autumn Moon's words made Lu Ming's heart tremble, but it was followed by great joy. He was happy for Mid-Autumn Moon. The human bloodline was divided into countless types. However, most of the bloodlines were in the form of living beings. For example, various forms of demonic beasts or various forms of plants. This was because in ancient times, the human race and the myriad races coexisted. Their blood contained the genes of these living beings, which was why the bloodline of these living beings was awakened. However, some people would awaken some very strange bloodlines, such as sword-shaped bloodlines, saber-shaped bloodlines, and other weapon-shaped bloodlines. There were even wind, fire, thunder, water, and other elemental bloodlines. These bloodlines were known as special bloodlines. Special bloodlines were very rare and very mysterious. They had unimaginable power. For example, people with sword-shaped bloodlines could comprehend swordsmanship many times faster than ordinary people. There were even people who had inherited an incomparably powerful swordsmanship from sword-shaped bloodlines, which allowed them to dominate the world. In short, those with special bloodlines were usually peerless geniuses. He did not expect Mid-Autumn Moon to have a special bloodline. No wonder it was so difficult to awaken before. Everything made sense now. Mid-Autumn Moon, you can't tell anyone in the future. Also, you have to cultivate well in the Qilin courtyard. Lu Ming touched Mid-Autumn Moon's hair and said. Young master. Mid-Autumn Moon's eyes turned red. Go and cultivate well. Young master will check on you in the future. Lu Ming said with a smile. Young master, don't worry. Mid-Autumn Moon will definitely work hard. Mid-Autumn Moon nodded vigorously. Mid-Autumn Moon, let's go. The middle-aged woman on the white crane waved her hand and an invisible force surged out. Mid-Autumn Moon's body floated in the air and landed on the white crane. The white crane let out a long cry and flew up. In the blink of an eye, it disappeared into the sky. It's time for me to go to the Vermilion Bird courtyard. Lu Ming smiled and walked towards the path of the Vermilion Bird courtyard. Obviously, he was in a good mood because Mid-Autumn Moon was able to join the Qilin courtyard. Junior brother, welcome to the Vermilion Bird courtyard. Please register your information here. The few youths at the entrance of the Vermilion Bird courtyard were overjoyed and they saw Lu Ming walking over. Lu Ming nodded and filled in his name, age, and where he came from. Then, he walked through the path. Along the way, he went over several hills. In front of him, a mountain peak that pierced through the clouds appeared. That was the Vermilion Bird Peak. At the foot of the Vermilion Bird Peak, there was a wide training field. This time, the new disciples of the Vermilion Bird courtyard were gathered here to wait for the arrangements. Stop. Unrelated people are not allowed to enter. At the entrance of the training field, a youth blocked Lu Ming's path. This youth was around 20 years old and wore a blue robe. He was obviously an older disciple and had a cold expression. Senior brother, I'm a new disciple. Lu Ming cupped his fists and said. The blue-robed youth revealed a cold smile and then coldly shouted, "How dare you lie to me? Pretending to be a disciple of my mystic essence sword sect is a great crime." Lu Ming frowned. This person was too strange. The moment he saw him, he didn't distinguish between right and wrong and said that he was pretending to be a disciple of the mystic essence sword sect. If he was really pretending, how could he walk here? This person was clearly deliberately making things difficult for him. However, this was the first time he met this youth. It could be said that there was no enmity between them. "I'm really a disciple of the Vermilion Bird Courtyard. This is the recommendation jade token." Lu Ming took out the recommendation jade token and said. However, the blue-robed youth didn't even look at the recommendation jade token. He sneered and said, "So what if you have the recommendation jade token? Can't you pretend to be a disciple? Moreover, the most basic requirement for the Mystic Essence Sword sect to recruit disciples is to be a bloodline cultivator. What about you? Are you a bloodline cultivator? Do you have a bloodline cultivator? If you don't have a bloodline cultivator, I don't care who recommended you. Get lost." After he finished speaking, he looked at Lu Ming with a mocking expression. "You're sent by the Duanmu family, right?" Lu Ming's eyes flickered as he suddenly asked. The blue-robed youth's expression changed slightly and he shouted, "What nonsense are you talking about? Get lost." Lu Ming's lips curled into a cold smile. He was sure that this blue-robed youth was related to the Duanmu family. Because only Lu Yao and Lu Yunxiong knew that Lu Ming's bloodline cultivator had been deprived. However, this blue-robed youth stopped him the moment he saw him and was certain that he didn't have a bloodline cultivator. This meant that he knew about his background beforehand. At this moment, the new disciples in the martial arts field were alarmed and gathered around to watch. "You want me to get lost? I think it's you who should get lost." Lu Ming suddenly sneered. "How dare you talk to me like that? I think you're tired of living." The blue-robed youth's expression darkened. Lu Ming smiled faintly and said, "Am I not? As a senior disciple, is this how you treat a new disciple? Indiscriminately framing a new disciple and wanting to drive a new disciple away? Who gave you the right? If the Vermilion Bird Courtyard is filled with trash like you, then it's fine to not stay." Lu Ming's words were clear and transmitted far away. Immediately, the new disciples in the martial arts field changed their expressions. They looked at the blue-robed youth and pointed at him. The blue-robed youth's expression became even uglier and even a little anxious. Casually driving a new disciple away was too heavy a charge. He didn't have the right to do so. If the elders heard about it, he wouldn't be able to bear the consequences. "Lu Ming, it's because you don't have a bloodline cultivator that I told you to get lost. Don't slander me here." The blue-robed youth shouted. "Slander me? Open your dog eyes and watch carefully." Lu Ming shouted. Then, a large amount of red light appeared behind him. The power of his bloodline cultivator erupted and the shadow of a bug flashed by. Chapter 28. Bloodline? How could you have a bloodline? The blue-robed youth cried out in disbelief. According to the information he received, this Lu Ming didn't have a bloodline? Of course I have a bloodline. Otherwise, how could I pass the test of the elders of the Vermilion Bird Courtyard and be recommended to enter the Vermilion Bird Courtyard? Even a pig would understand this logic, but you deliberately made things difficult for me. Tell me, what are your intentions? Are you deliberately suppressing the new disciples? Or are you worse than a pig? Lu Ming said word by word. His gaze was like lightning as he stared at the blue-robed youth. As soon as these words came out, the surrounding new disciples all looked at the blue-robed youth with vigilance. This made the blue-robed youth so angry that he almost vomited blood. He couldn't answer Lu Ming's two questions. If he admitted that he was deliberately making things difficult for him, then it would mean that he was deliberately suppressing the new disciples. If this affected the Vermilion Bird Courtyard's recruitment, then he wouldn't be able to bear the consequences. But if he didn't admit it, then he was worse than a pig. Lu Ming, you. The blue-robed youth's face turned red. He held back for a long time, but still couldn't force out a word. Get out of my way, you're blocking the way. Lu Ming scolded. The blue-robed youth clenched his teeth and coldly glared at Lu Ming. Lu Ming, just you wait. I, Ning Feng, am not that easy to play with. After he finished speaking, he turned around and strode away. Lu Ming smiled and walked into the martial arts field. The martial arts field was very large, flat and spacious. At this time, there were already 100 or 200 people. Some people gathered in groups of 2s and 3s to chat, while others sat alone with their eyes closed in meditation. Lu Ming walked to the side, sat down cross-legged, and quietly waited. There was a constant stream of people entering the martial arts field. After a few hours, the sky darkened. At this time, there were nearly 1,000 people in the martial arts field. At this time, there was basically no one entering the martial arts field. Lu Ming couldn't help but sigh at the high standards of the Mystic Essence Sword sect. There were at least 50,000 people who came to participate in the assessment, but now there were only 1,000 people in the Vermilion Bird courtyard. As for the other courtyards, even if they had more students, they wouldn't have that many. It would be considered good if there were 5,000 people in total. In other words, only 1 out of 10 people could join the Mystic Essence Sword sect. At this moment, a burly man with a full beard walked into the training field. Assemble. The strong bearded man roared like a mad lion, shaking everyone's ears to the point of buzzing. More than 1,000 people quickly gathered together. The bearded man stood in front of the crowd, his face expressionless as he roared, I am Elder Xia Kuang. First of all, welcome to the Vermilion Bird courtyard. I'm sure all of you already know that you're just Odd Job's disciples. The crowd couldn't help but clench their fists tightly. They knew that those who had just joined the Mystic Origin Sword sect were menial disciples. But the word menial made them feel uncomfortable. Looking at the crowd's expression, Xia Kuang revealed a satisfied smile and said, however, you have a chance. Soon, the word menial will be removed. In 3 days, the new disciples of the Azure Dragon, Vermilion Bird, White Tiger, and Black Tortoise courtyards will hold a trial together. As long as you pass the trial, you'll be promoted to a bronze-ranked disciple. Not only will your treatment be greatly improved, you'll also be able to move to the Vermilion Bird Peak to cultivate. But those who don't pass will continue to be Odd Job's disciples and live in the Odd Jobs area, struggling bitterly. Are you guys confident? Yes. Everyone roared, filled with battle intent and confidence. These 1,000 people were all youths under the age of 18, full of vigor. Moreover, those who were able to join the Mystic Essence Sword sect are all geniuses in their respective cities. Naturally, they wouldn't think that they were inferior to others. Good, then we'll distribute the living quarters. Go and rest. Xia Kuang said loudly. Next, someone came to arrange the living quarters for them. Of course, they were currently living in the Odd Job's disciple area at the foot of the Vermilion Bird Peak. They lived in an ordinary wooden house, 1 room per person, and it was very small. After Lu Ming entered his room, he entered the Temple of Paragon and began to cultivate. In the trial 3 days later, he had to be promoted to a bronze-ranked disciple. That way, he would have better conditions and more time to cultivate. In the Mystic Essence Sword sect, regardless of the courtyard, the disciples were divided into Odd Job's disciples, bronze-ranked disciples, and silver-ranked disciples. Odd Job's disciples were the lowest rank. Just like Odd Jobs, they had to complete tasks assigned by the sect every day before they had time to cultivate. Their treatment was also the worst. Bronze-ranked disciples were official disciples of the Mystic Essence Sword sect, and their treatment was much better. Silver-ranked disciples were considered elite disciples. They were the backbone of the sect. It was said that there was a gold-ranked disciple above the silver-ranked disciples. However, gold-ranked disciples were above the 5 courtyards. Each of them was a peerless genius, and they had entered the core area of the Mystic Essence Sword sect to cultivate. Their status was high, and they could even stand shoulder to shoulder with the courtyard masters. However, there were very few gold-ranked disciples. There were not many of them in the entire Mystic Essence Sword sect. Lu Ming was still far away from becoming a gold-ranked disciple. He did not want to think about it. Lu Ming's current goal was to become a bronze-ranked disciple first. In the blink of an eye, 3 days had passed. On the morning of the 4th day, more than 1,000 people gathered at the martial arts field again. Xia Kuang stood at the front, his eyes shining as he scanned the surroundings. He roared, "All right, 3 days have passed. The trial has officially begun. This trial will be held in the secluded Night Mountain range 200 miles away from our sect. Let me tell you, the secluded Night Mountain range is filled with demonic beasts. It's very dangerous, and it's very common to lose your life. If any of you want to withdraw now, you can stand up. I'll immediately handle the procedures for you to withdraw from the sect." The crowd was silent, and no one stood up. The path of martial arts was originally full of thorns and dangers. Since stepping on this path, everyone was mentally prepared. What's more, withdrawing meant leaving the Mystic Essence Sword sect. It was not easy for them to join the Mystic Essence Sword sect, so how could they withdraw just like that? If they really withdrew, they might become a laughingstock for the rest of their lives. Xia Kuang looked around and revealed a satisfied smile. "All right, since no one is withdrawing, follow me to the secluded Night Mountain range to gather with the other 3 courtyards." With that, Xia Kuang ran out first, and the others followed. In a courtyard on the Vermilion Bird Peak, 2 figures sat opposite each other. One was Ning Feng, and the other was a young man with a smile on his face. "Ning Feng, how's the arrangement?" the young man with a smile on his face asked. Ning Feng's face revealed a trace of coldness. "Brother Duanmu, don't worry. This trial will be the death of that brat Lu Ming." That's good. Most of the disciples from the Duanmu family who are participating in the trial have seen Lu Ming's portrait. As long as they meet Lu Ming in the trial, they will kill him. Ning Feng, young Master Lin, is very concerned about Lu Ming. As long as you do well, you will naturally be rewarded. The young man from the Duanmu family laughed. Ning Feng was overjoyed. He cupped his fists and said, "Then I'll have to ask Brother Duanmu to put in a good word for me in front of young Master Lin." Chapter 29. Lu Ming followed the large group out of the Mystic Essence Sword sect and headed towards the secluded Night Mountain range. Thousands of people ran on the road, stirring up clouds of dust. The Mystic Essence Sword sect was a full 200 miles away from the secluded Night Mountain range. Although everyone was a martial artist who had awakened their bloodline and their cultivation was not weak, after running for 200 miles, many of them were still sweating profusely and panting like oxen. Lu Ming was fine. Although he was a little out of breath, he had not reached his limit. When they arrived at the periphery of the secluded Night Mountain range, they found that the people from the White Tiger Hall had already arrived. There were a total of 1,500 people in the White Tiger Hall, nearly 500 more than the Vermilion Bird Hall. In recent years, the White Tiger Hall had become stronger and stronger, becoming the strongest among the 4 halls. Therefore, most people chose to join the White Tiger Hall. "All right, you guys take a rest first," Xia Kuang called out. Everyone sat cross-legged and meditated. Rumble. After a while, the earth rumbled. The Azure Dragon Hall and the Black Tortoise Hall had arrived. Lu Ming observed for a while and found that the Azure Dragon Hall had about 1,300 people, the Black Tortoise Hall had about 1,200 people, and the Vermilion Bird Hall had the least, only about 1,000 people. The 4 halls added up to about 5,000 people. Swoosh. Swoosh. At this moment, the sound of something breaking through the air came from the sky. A few figures flew over from afar. Yes, they were flying in the air without riding on other flying beasts. It's a martial ancestor realm expert. There was a burst of exclamations as everyone looked at the sky enviously. Only when a martial artist reached the martial ancestor realm could they fly in the air and soar in the 9 heavens. Lu Ming also looked at the sky enviously, revealing a yearning look. Who wouldn't yearn to soar in the 9 heavens like a goshawk, overlooking the mountains and rivers? One day, I will reach such a realm. Lu Ming clenched his fist with all his might. There were a total of 3 figures, and they were very fast. In a few breaths, they were above everyone's head and suspended in the air. They were 3 gray-haired old men wearing silver robes. They were the silver-robed elders of the Mystic Essence Sword sect. Now, I will announce the rules of this trial. As soon as they arrived, the silver-robed elder in the middle announced loudly. This time, on some of the beasts in the secluded Night Mountain range, we hung an iron plate with points engraved on it, namely 1 point, 2 points, 5 points, and 10 points. These are the 4 types. Among them, there are a total of 5,000 1-point iron plates, which are distributed to Class 1 LV1 to Class 6 LV1. There are a total of 2,000 iron plates, which are on Class 1 7th stage to Class 1 9th stage. There are 400 pieces of 5-point iron plates and 200 pieces of 10-point iron plates. These 2 types of iron plates can only be found on Class 1 to Class 3 LV2 demonic beasts. This time, as long as you get 10 points, you will pass and be promoted to a bronze disciple. The duration of the trial is 20 days. After 20 days, come back here and check your results. Does 10 points count as passing? Lu Ming's eyes flickered. 10 points didn't seem like much, but it was extremely difficult. The strength of demonic beasts was not something that ordinary beasts could compare to. A level 1 demonic beast was equivalent to a martial soldier. A rank 2 demonic beast was equivalent to a martial master. Every level 1 demonic beast was divided into 9 levels, which corresponded to a martial master's realm. The 5-point and 10-point iron plates were on Class 2 demonic beasts. Ordinary newcomers couldn't get their hands on them. Therefore, those below the martial master realm could only get 1-point and 2-point iron plates. According to the silver-robed elder, 5,000 for 1 point, 2,000 for 2 points. Even if all the 5-point and 10-point iron plates were added together, the total score would be 13,000 points. 13,000 points divided by 10. That was to say, on average, only 1,300 people would pass. Out of 5,000 people, only 1,300 people could pass on average. It could be imagined that the competition this time would be extremely fierce. Furthermore, the rewards this time around are also very generous. The silver-robed elder continued to announce, this time, the first place will be rewarded with 5,000 sect contribution points and a spirit condensing fruit. The second place will be rewarded with 4,000 sect contribution points. The third place will be rewarded with 3,000 sect contribution points. The fourth place to the 10th place will be rewarded with 1,000 sect contribution points. The 11th place to the 100th place will also have a corresponding reward. Lastly, I might as well tell you that this time, there will be a 5-point iron plate. As for which demonic beast it is on, it will depend on you to find it. Alright, that's all for the rules. You can all rest for a while and set off. As soon as he said that, the entire place was in an uproar. The main thing was that the rewards were too tempting. The Mystic Essence Sword sect's contribution points could be exchanged for anything in the Mystic Essence Sword sect, such as elixirs, spiritual weapons, cultivation techniques, martial skills, heavenly treasures, etc. One contribution point was equivalent to 100 taels of silver. The first place would be rewarded with 5,000 contribution points, which was equivalent to 500,000 taels of silver. Who wouldn't be tempted? Spirit condensing fruit. Compared to the contribution points, the spirit condensing fruit was also tempting to Lu Ming. The spirit condensing fruit could be used by ordinary martial artists to condense their true qi and increase their cultivation. However, it was more useful for Lu Ming. If he wanted to cultivate to the second level of the true dragon art, his true qi would be 3 times denser than ordinary true qi. He would need to use several extremely precious and rare materials. The spirit-condensing fruit was one of the most precious materials. I must obtain the spirit-condensing fruit. Lu Ming's eyes revealed a burning light. Not only Lu Ming, but some of the powerful geniuses among the 5,000 people also revealed a strong desire. You must be Lu Ming. At this moment, a clear voice sounded out. A 15 or 16-year-old girl wearing a swordsman's robe revealed her proud figure without a doubt. She had a ponytail and a sword on her back. She had a heroic spirit. You are? Looking at the girl, Lu Ming frowned. He did not know the other party, but the other party recognized him. Could it be that she was sent by the Duanmu family? As if seeing through Lu Ming's worries, the girl smiled and said, Lu Ming, my name is Feng Wu. Sister Mulan's told me to look for you. Mulan's. Lu Ming's eyes lit up. He let down his guard and said, Miss Feng Wu is looking for me. I wonder why you are looking for me? Sister Mulan said that this time, the Duanmu family might deal with you in the trial, so she told me to form a team with you. This way, we can take care of each other. How about it, let's move together? Feng Wu said. Lu Ming thought for a moment, then nodded, all right. He had absolute trust in Mulan's. Furthermore, he had just arrived at the Mystic Essence Sword sect, so he was not very clear about the situation in the Mystic Essence Sword sect. That's great. Our team still has 3 people. Let me introduce you. Feng Wu laughed and turned to walk back. Lu Ming followed. On the side of a huge rock, there were 3 youths leaning against it. Everyone, let me introduce you. This is Lu Ming, our new member. Arriving in front of the 3 of them, Feng Wu pointed at Lu Ming and introduced him. Then, he pointed to the 2 tall and skinny youths and introduced them. Lu Ming, this is Zhou Hao, Zhou Su. Zhou Hao and Zhou Su nodded their heads indifferently as a form of greeting. Lu Ming, this is Yuan Chong. Feng Wu pointed to the last rather handsome young man and said. Feng Wu, why did you pull everyone into the team? I don't want someone to drag us down. Chapter 30. Yuan Chang's expression was somewhat unfriendly as he stared at Lu Ming and said coldly. Feng Wu's face darkened, and said, Yuan Chong, what are you saying? Lu Ming is my friend. Friend? Hee, we have a lot of friends, and not everyone can be pulled into the team. I want to ask, what is his cultivation level? Yuan Chong said coldly. 6th level martial warrior. Lu Ming said with a sneer on his face. Haha, 6th level martial warrior? Junior sister Feng Wu, you want to pull a trash at the 6th level of the martial warrior into the team? The weakest of us here are at the 9th level of the martial warrior. He is just a trash at the 6th level of the martial warrior. Yuan Chong laughed out loud and looked at Lu Ming mockingly, his face full of disdain. A faint look of disdain flashed across the eyes of the other 2, but they did not say anything. Miss Feng, it seems that I'm not welcome here. Then I'll take my leave. Lu Ming cupped his fists towards Feng Wu and said, then turned around and left. Lu Ming, wait a moment. Feng Wu anxiously called out. He went over and grabbed Lu Ming's hand, then looked at Yuan Chong, his eyes filled with raging anger, and shouted, Yuan Chong, you're going too far, I'm warning you, if you say such words again, then we'll go our separate ways. Feng Wu, you. Yuan Chong's face was extremely gloomy. He never thought that Feng Wu would actually speak to him like that for Lu Ming. He looked at Lu Ming, his eyes flashing with resentment, but in the end, he did not say anything. After that, Feng Wu looked at Lu Ming and whispered, Lu Ming, I promised Big Sister Mulan's that I would bring you along. If you leave, I won't be able to explain it to Big Sister Mulan's. As he spoke, his eyes revealed a pleading look. Lu Ming was somewhat speechless. It seemed that this Feng Wu beauty was afraid of Mulan's, which was why she insisted on keeping him. Why don't we walk with them for a while, get some information, and then find an opportunity to leave? Lu Ming thought for a moment, then nodded and said, all right, let's go together. That's great. Feng Wu's face revealed a happy smile. Seeing Feng Wu and Lu Ming whispering to each other, Yuan Chang's face became even uglier, and his eyes were filled with a cold light. At this time, there were already people rushing into the secluded night mountain range one after another. Generally, they were in teams of 3 to 5 people, but there were also some who were alone and disappeared into the secluded night mountain range. Then let's go, Feng Wu announced. Obviously, Feng Wu was the leader of this group. A group of 5 people rushed towards the secluded night mountain range. In the secluded night mountain range, there were towering trees everywhere within a radius of 1,000 miles. Old vines coiled around it, making it look like a primeval forest. From time to time, the terrifying roars of beasts could be heard. 30 miles outside the secluded night mountain range is generally filled with ferocious beasts. There are very few demonic beasts. If we want to obtain points, we have to go at least 30 miles deep, Feng Wu said to them. Everyone nodded, spread out their bodies, and rushed towards the depths of the secluded night mountain range. Yuan Chong took the lead. His speed was extremely fast. With a sneer on his face, he thought to himself, "This trash, let's see how you can keep up." But very soon, he could no longer laugh. Lu Ming took a step forward and covered a distance of 20 feet. He followed beside Zhou Hao and Zhou Su effortlessly, looking relaxed and relaxed. This trash, I didn't expect his movement technique to be so powerful, Yuan Chong thought in displeasure. Among them, he was at the first level of the martial master realm, Feng Wu was also at the first level of the martial master realm, and Zhou Hao and Zhou Su were both at the 9th level of the martial warrior realm. Although Yuan Chong could still speed up his movement technique, that way, he would be able to shake off Zhou Hao and Zhou Su. But what he didn't know was that Lu Ming didn't even use half of his speed. The dragon snake steps had reached the 5th level, perfection. With a single step, he could cross a distance of 5 feet. The group moved very quickly. After an hour, they had already gone 30 miles deep. At this point, the 5 of them slowed down because there were already demonic beasts roaming around. Roar! A pitch-black black panther suddenly pounced out from the bushes. Its fiendish aura filled the air, and its claws were like blades as it grabbed towards Zhou Hao. "You're courting death!" Zhou Hao shouted and punched out, colliding with the black panther's claws. With a bang, the black panther was no match for it. It flew backwards and heavily fell to the ground. After rolling a few times, it got up and ran away. Class 6 Demonic Beast Black Iron Panther, Zhou Hao, don't chase after it. It doesn't have any iron medallion on it, Feng Wu called out. Zhou Hao originally wanted to chase after him, but hearing this, he stopped. Feng Wu continued, "Our main goal is to accumulate points, so those who do not have any iron medallions, we should avoid them as much as we can, so as not to waste time and energy." The others nodded. The 5 of them continued forward, but not long after, they stopped. Feng Wu frowned, he looked around and said, "Someone has been following us." "I noticed it too." Yuan Chong nodded. Lu Ming also frowned, because from the beginning, he had been feeling a killing intent enveloping him. "Who is it? Come out!" Feng Wu shouted. Junior Sister Feng's spiritual sense is really sharp. A sneer came from the left, and then 2 figures appeared. Wei Ziming. Lu Ming's eyes flashed. One of them, Lu Ming knew, it was Wei Ziming who was slapped twice by him a few days ago at the Profound Sword City's restaurant. At this time, Wei Ziming was staring at Lu Ming with a sinister expression. Beside Wei Ziming was a youth who was 50 to 60% similar to Wei Ziming, but even younger. "Wei Zio, it's you? Why are you following us?" Feng Wu said coldly. So this person was Wei Ziming's younger brother, Wei Zio. It was normal for some of the more famous geniuses to know each other. Wei Zio laughed and said, "Junior Sister Feng, senior brother Yuan Chong, this has nothing to do with you. I want him, Lu Ming." Feng Wu's face changed, and said, "Why are you looking for Lu Ming?" "Nothing." A while ago, he slapped my big brother twice, so I'm here to cripple his hands. Junior sister Feng, it's best if you don't interfere in this matter. Wei Zio looked at Feng Wu and said. But I'm going to interfere, because Lu Ming is now my teammate. Feng Wu said. Feng Wu, I advise you not to meddle in other people's business. At this moment, a voice came from the right. Following that, two youths appeared. These two youths did not conceal their auras at all. Their auras erupted, revealing their cultivation of the 9th-level martial warrior. Although it was only the 9th-level martial warrior, it caused Feng Wu's expression to change greatly. People from the Duanmu family, what are you doing here? Feng Wu shouted. The Duanmu family had a green tree embroidered on their sleeves, making it easy to recognize. We're here for this Lu Ming, of course. We want his life. One of the Duanmu family's youths smiled faintly. You want to kill Lu Ming? Feng Wu's expression turned ugly. Just how many people had this Lu Ming offended? No wonder Mulans wanted her to protect Lu Ming. At the side, Yuan Chang's eyes revealed a gloating expression. This Lu Ming actually dared to offend the Duanmu family. He was truly courting death. Duanmu family, Wei Zio, you came in such a hurry. Chapter 31. Lu Ming, looks like there's no need for me to do anything. Wei Zio laughed. No, no one can take Lu Ming away today. Feng Wu said resolutely. Feng Wu's words stunned everyone. The two youths from the Duanmu family turned gloomy and said, Feng Wu, you really want to go against my Duanmu family? My Duanmu family's anger is not something you can withstand. At the side, Yuan Chong also said anxiously, Junior sister Feng Wu, for a mere Lu Ming, offending the Duanmu family and brother Wei is truly unwise. I think we should not meddle in other people's business. Shut up. Whoever wants to take Lu Ming away today, ask the sword in my hand first. Clang. Feng Wu unsheathed his sword and a sharp sword chi burst out, splitting a rock the size of a person into two halves. Martial Master Realm, release of true energy. Wei Ziming, Wei Zio, the two from the Duanmu family and Yuan Chang's faces all darkened. Especially Yuan Chong, who gritted his teeth. Wei Zio and the two from the Duanmu family's eyes flickered. In their eyes, Lu Ming could be easily killed, but Feng Wu was difficult to deal with. Although Wei Zio was also at the first level of the Martial Master Realm, the two youths from the Duanmu family were only at the 9th level of the Martial Warrior Realm. Feng Wu, do you really think you can protect Lu Ming? When my Duanmu family's experts come, let's see how you'll protect him. Humph. In the end, the two from the Duanmu family chose to retreat. Heh heh. Wei Zio also sneered, his figure flashed, and he retreated with Wei Ziming. Lu Ming, don't worry. The secluded Night Mountain range has a radius of 1,000 miles. As long as we are careful, the people from the Duanmu family won't be able to find us. Feng Wu walked to Lu Ming's side and said. Thank you. Lu Ming said with a smile. To be honest, even without Feng Wu, Lu Ming was confident that he could break out of the encirclement. The dragon snake steps allowed him to traverse 5 meters with a single step. He believed that even a first-level martial master expert would not be able to catch up to him. However, under such circumstances, Feng Wu was still firmly standing on his side. Lu Ming was still very grateful. There's no need to be so courteous with me. Let's continue our journey. Feng Wu said. Then, he turned around and glared fiercely at Yuan Chong before striding forward. Following that, Feng Wu took the lead, and after walking for a while, she would turn around to prevent the Duanmu clan and Wei Ziming from following her. By evening, they had walked at least 100 miles in the forest. During this time, they finally encountered a few demonic beasts with iron tokens and successfully obtained a few iron tokens. The iron plate was very thin and light. There were 2 pieces, one of which was engraved with the word 1 and the other with the word 2. 2 for 1, 1 for 2. Soon, night fell. They built a bonfire, caught a demonic beast, and roasted it. At night, the secluded night mountain range was even more dangerous. Demonic beasts roamed about and were extremely ferocious. Therefore, they planned to rest at night and continue searching for iron tokens during the day. After eating the barbecue, they extinguished the bonfire and found a secluded place to meditate and rest. The night passed without a word. The next day, they continued to search for demonic beasts with iron tokens. However, the secluded night mountain range had a radius of 1,000 miles. It was unknown how many demonic beasts lived there, but there were only 7,000 iron tokens. In this vast forest, it was not that easy to find. Just like that, 3 days passed. In 3 days, the 5 of them had obtained a total of 6 pieces of 1 point and 3 pieces of 2 points. In total, it was only 12 points, enough for one person to pass. On the 3rd day, when the sky was completely dark, they discovered a shadow wolf. On the neck of this shadow wolf, there was an iron token with the word 10 written on it. Iron token with 10 points, kill. Feng Wu was overjoyed. In a flash, he chased after it. The shadow wolf was a Class 1 LV2 demonic beast. An ordinary Class 1 LV2 demonic beast had an iron token with 5 points, and an iron token with 10 points was usually on Class 2 LV2 demonic beasts. Now that a Class 1 LV2 demonic beast had an iron token with 10 points, it could be said to be extremely rare, so they naturally wouldn't let it go. Let's chase together. Feng Wu called out from the front. Behind him, Zhou Hao and Zhou Su also rushed forward. However, the shadow wolf was extremely fast, and Feng Wu couldn't catch up at all. In a few breaths, Feng Wu and the shadow wolf's figures disappeared. Lu Ming used his movement technique and wanted to chase after them, but a figure flashed and blocked in front of him. It was Yuan Chong. Lu Ming frowned and said, "Yuan Chong, you want to attack me?" He, Lu Ming, you trash, that stupid woman Feng Wu actually protects you like this. She's really stupid, but I, Yuan Chong, don't want to be implicated by you. Yuan Chong pointed his sword at Lu Ming, and a powerful aura enveloped Lu Ming's body. Yuan Chong, you're 17 years old this year, right? Lu Ming suddenly asked. That's right. So what? Yuan Chong said. 17 years old, and you're still only a Class 1 martial master. I think you're even worse than trash. In 2 months, I can defeat you. Lu Ming said. Ridiculous. Lu Ming, you want to defeat me in 2 months with a Class 6 martial warrior trash like you? Ridiculous, but unfortunately, you won't have the chance. Yuan Chong revealed a cold smile. At this moment, the sound of something breaking through the air came from the side of the forest, and 2 figures appeared. It was actually the 2 youths from the Duanmu family. Yuan Chong, you're quite sensible. Thank you for your cooperation this time. You can leave now. One of the youths from the Duanmu family said. Lu Ming, this is your fate. Accept it obediently. Yuan Chong laughed loudly. His figure flashed, and he headed in the direction where Feng Wu and the others were chasing after the shadow wolf. Lu Ming, are you going to kill yourself, or do you want us to do it? After Yuan Chong left, the 2 youths from the Duanmu family looked at Lu Ming. One of them said indifferently, as if Lu Ming was already a turtle in a jar. With just the 2 of you? Your Duanmu family is underestimating me, Lu Ming. Lu Ming sighed. Suddenly, he stomped heavily on the ground, twisted his body, and rushed toward the 2 youths from the Duanmu family like lightning. Swoosh! In the process of rushing out, sword light flashed and slashed at the vital point of one of the youths. Strike first and gain the upper hand. Since they had already become mortal enemies, Lu Ming would not be wishy-washy. The 2 youths from the Duanmu family were shocked. They never thought that Lu Ming would be so bold. He was only a Class 6 martial warrior. Facing 2 Class 9 martial warriors, he actually dared to take the initiative. Moreover, his attack was fast, accurate, and incomparably sharp. Retreat. In a hurry, the two of them hurriedly retreated. Puchi. Even so, one of the youth's chest was still swept by Lu Ming's sword. The wound went straight to the bone and blood flowed out. What a pity. I was so close to being able to cut his heart. A Class 9 martial warrior is indeed powerful. Lu Ming sighed in his heart, thinking that it was a pity. With Lu Ming's current combat strength, killing a Class 8 martial warrior wasn't a problem. However, facing a Class 9 martial warrior, it wasn't a problem for him to fight. However, it was very difficult to kill them. Lu Ming, you dare to hurt me? I will tear you into pieces. The young man who was injured by Lu Ming broke out in a cold sweat. He had a lingering fear and screamed hysterically. Together with the other person, he dashed toward Lu Ming. Then let's fight. Chapter 32. In an instant, the three of them collided. Ding ding. The three sword lights continued to clash in the air, emitting dense sounds and sparks. The two youths from the Duanmu family were cultivating inferior-grade yellow-level swordplay. They had already reached the third level of mastery and were far from Lu Ming's swordplay. However, their cultivation was 3 levels higher than Lu Ming's. When the two of them joined forces, Lu Ming was slightly at a disadvantage. Kill the injured one first. Lu Ming's eyes were like lightning as he continuously attacked the injured youth with the flowing light sword technique. How can he be so strong? He's only a 6th stage martial warrior. How can he be so strong? No, we can't let him live. We must kill him. The two youths from the Duanmu family were shocked. Lu Ming's combat strength was beyond their imagination. Roar! Roar! 2 beastly roars were heard. The two youths from the Duanmu family emitted a blood-red light from their backs. Then, 2 black panthers appeared. There were 3 red chakras on the 2 black panthers. Obviously, both of them had rank 3 bloodline. Then, the 2 black panthers rushed into the two youths' bodies. Suddenly, their bodies emitted a layer of black light and their auras surged. This was bloodline eruption. With the activation of their bloodline, their speed was raised by 30%. Bloodlines were biased. Some bloodlines were biased towards defense, some towards attack, and some towards speed. When a bloodline eruption occurred, the attribute it was biased towards would be increased. Generally speaking, a first-level bloodline eruption could increase one's attributes by 10%. A second-level bloodline eruption could increase one's attributes by 20%. A 9th-level bloodline eruption could increase one's attributes by 90%, which was almost double. The two youths' bloodlines were biased towards speed. Therefore, when they erupted, their speed increased by 30%. No matter which attribute increased, it meant an increase in combat strength. Of course, some high-grade bloodlines might be very powerful in several attributes. Then, they could increase several attributes at the same time. When several attributes increased at the same time, the increase in combat strength would be even more terrifying. After the bloodline eruption, the two youths' combat strength increased by a level and began to suppress Lu Ming. It's a pity that my bloodline hasn't grown yet. I can't erupt with power. This is my weakness. Lu Ming pondered and did his best to fight the two of them. Swoosh! Right at this moment, the sound of something tearing through the air rang out again. Another person had arrived. Lu Ming, die. It was Wei Ziming and Wei Ziyu. Whoosh! Before Wei Ziyu arrived, he slashed out with his sword and a green sword chi burst forth. The sword chi left his body and was incomparably sharp. It directly slashed at Lu Ming's vital points. Danger! In an instant, Lu Ming felt goosebumps all over his body as a strong sense of danger enveloped him. The sword chi of a martial master was not something he could withstand right now. However, when he wanted to dodge, he was blocked by two young men from the Duanmu family. Whoosh! At this moment, in another direction, there was a sharp sound of air being torn apart. Another beam of sword chi slashed towards Lu Ming. There was actually another martial master who wanted to kill Lu Ming. Two martial masters joined forces and two young men in the martial warrior 9th rank to stop Lu Ming. This was a sure kill. Lu Ming was instantly in a desperate situation. Enter the Temple of Paragon. Since he couldn't withstand it, he could only enter the Temple of Paragon to hide. Although this might expose the Temple of Paragon, it was better than being killed. However, Lu Ming's expression immediately changed. He realized that he couldn't enter the Temple of Paragon. The Temple of Paragon didn't respond. Can't I enter the Temple of Paragon in the middle of a battle? Am I going to die here? No, I can't die. Lu Ming shouted in his heart. At this moment, he was extremely focused and his blood was boiling. He wanted to find a way out of this hopeless situation. Suddenly, a strong itch came from Lu Ming's spine. A beam of red light shot out from his spine. At the same time, a strange energy flowed from his spine into Lu Ming's body. This is the power of the bloodline. My bloodline has finally fully grown. Bloodline eruption. Without much time to think, Lu Ming's bloodline erupted and a layer of black light spread out from his body. Whoosh! Whoosh! At this moment, two beams of sword chi slashed Lu Ming's body. The moment the sword chi slashed, two sharp beams of energy rushed into Lu Ming's body. A sharp pain came and Lu Ming spat out a mouthful of blood. The power of the sword chi seems to have been reduced by half. In an instant, Lu Ming felt that the power of the sword chi had been reduced by half. If it had been at full power, Lu Ming definitely wouldn't have been able to withstand it. Is it because of my bloodline? A thought flashed through his mind. However, there was no time to think. Lu Ming took a step forward and rushed towards the injured Duanmu clan youth like the wind. How could the Duanmu clan youth have expected that Lu Ming would still be alive after being hit by the sword chi of two martial masters? It was already too late for him to defend himself. Puchi. The sword chi flashed and slashed the youth's throat. Blood splattered everywhere. Lu Ming's figure flashed past and then he used the dragon snake steps and ran forward. Lu Ming, you dare kill a disciple of my Duanmu clan. You deserve to die. A furious roar sounded out. Lu Ming took a quick glance and saw the person who roared. This person was the other martial master who had attacked. There was a green wood embroidered on his sleeve. He was obviously a disciple of the Duanmu clan. Duanmu clan, I, Lu Ming, swear that sooner or later, I will uproot you. The killing intent in Lu Ming's heart was extremely strong. He forcefully suppressed the injuries in his body and ran forward. Chase. Behind him, Wei Zio and the martial master from the Duanmu clan quickly chased after Lu Ming. However, Lu Ming's dragon snake steps had already reached the 5th level. He could traverse 15 meters with each step, which was faster than a rank 1 martial master. Wei Zio and the martial master could not catch up with Lu Ming. Half an hour later, Lu Ming had completely left the two of them in the dust. Then, Lu Ming found a cave and rushed in. Huff huff. Lu Ming sat in the cave, panting heavily. He could feel waves of pain in his body. Although he had blocked the sword chi of the two martial masters, he was still injured. Let's see if I can enter the Temple of Paragon. With a thought, Lu Ming disappeared and reappeared in the Temple of Paragon. Can't I enter the Temple of Paragon when I'm in a battle or in danger? Why is that? Lu Ming was puzzled and speechless. It seemed that it would be impossible to rely on the Temple of Paragon to avoid danger in the future. He had to rely on himself. Let's heal first. Lu Ming sat cross-legged and circulated the true dragon fighting art to heal his injuries. 3 days later, Lu Ming's injuries were completely healed. Buzz. Lu Ming's consciousness sank into his spine. A blood-red light shone and a finger-sized black worm appeared in the light. The worm was black and shiny, as if it was made of black jade. It had no hands or legs. Is this my bloodline? But why doesn't it have a single chakra? Chapter 33. Bloodlines were divided into 9 levels, and each level had a corresponding chakra. Level 1 bloodline, 1 blood chakra. Level 2 bloodline, 2 blood chakras. And so on. However, Lu Ming's bloodline did not have a single chakra. Could it be a level 0 bloodline? But he had never heard of a level 0 bloodline. Moreover, Lu Ming had tested it before. The speed at which his bloodline absorbed the spiritual qi of heaven and earth was comparable to a level 4 bloodline. Also, when I activated my bloodline power, it blocked 50% of the sword qi. Is that a special effect of my bloodline? Lu Ming pondered, and there was excitement in his eyes. If it could really block 50% of the enemy's attack, it would be a terrifying ability. Lu Ming could not wait to give it a try. Lu Ming left the Temple of Paragon and searched for demonic beasts in the forest. Soon, he found a demonic beast. It was a Class 7 LV-1 demonic beast. It could spit out fireballs to attack. Roar. When the flame wolf found Lu Ming, it roared and opened its mouth. A fireball condensed and shot toward Lu Ming. Let's try the power of bloodline power. With a thought, a force flowed from his spine into his body. Lu Ming's body shone with a layer of black light. The black light exuded a strong devouring power. Lu Ming did not dodge and allowed the fireball to hit him. In an instant, Lu Ming could clearly feel that the power of the fireball was being devoured by the black light on his body. In the end, only half of its power was left. Lu Ming took a step back, avoiding the fireball that had half of its power left. It turns out that the external attack was not blocked, but devoured. Half of the attack power was devoured. There was shock in Lu Ming's eyes. At this moment, the bloodline power in Lu Ming's body disappeared without a trace. It can't be. How did it disappear so quickly? It only took a breath? Lu Ming was speechless. At this moment, the flame wolf spat out another fireball. But when Lu Ming wanted to activate his bloodline power again, he found that it could not. Lu Ming knew that it was because the bloodline power had been exhausted and needed time to recover. But wasn't this a little too short? Lu Ming knew that generally, martial artists in the martial soldier realm would have a bloodline outburst for about a minute. After a minute or so, the bloodline power would be exhausted and they would have to wait for recovery. As for the martial master realm, the power of one's bloodline would become stronger and one would be able to unleash it for about 2 minutes. In the future, as one's cultivation increased, the duration of one's bloodline would also increase. But now, Lu Ming's bloodline power eruption could only lasted for a second. Normally, one breath was 2 seconds, which was 30 times more than other people's time. It seemed that the ability to block 50% of the attack was powerful and miraculous, but it could only be used at critical moments. Also, what was the highest level could be? There was a limit to everything. Lu Ming did not believe that the bloodline of an expert who was much more powerful than him could withstand it. Lu Ming had to find out for himself. In any case, Lu Ming was very satisfied. This ability could definitely be used as a trump card at a critical moment. Bang! He used the dragon snake steps to avoid the flame wolf's attack and then attacked the flame wolf. Poochie! The sword pierced through the flame wolf's heart. The flame wolf struggled a few times before it stopped breathing. I wonder how long it will take for the bloodline power to fully recover. Lu Ming thought, and the black bug bloodline power condensed. Lu Ming wanted to continue observing. At this moment, a sudden change occurred. The black bug bloodline power suddenly opened its mouth at the flame wolf's corpse and a powerful suction force was produced. Then, 9 drops of bright red blood essence flew out from the flame wolf's wound and were swallowed by the black bug bloodline power. In the next moment, a powerful energy gushed out from Lu Ming's spine. This energy fused with Lu Ming's true qi, causing Lu Ming's cultivation to soar from the early stage of the 6th level of the martial warrior to the peak of the early stage of the 6th level of the martial warrior. Buzz! Then, a pale red chakra appeared on the black bug bloodline power's body. In Lu Ming's eyes, it was so dazzling. Lu Ming was stunned. It took him a long time to react. My bloodline can actually devour the blood essence of a monster and transform it into true qi? And my bloodline can actually level up? Lu Ming muttered to himself. His eyes were getting brighter and brighter, and his heart was ecstatic. It was already heaven-defying to be able to devour blood essence and transform it into true qi. But to be able to level up was simply unheard of. As everyone knew, the level of bloodline was fixed. Unless there were special circumstances, it was generally impossible to level up. But his bloodline could actually level up, which was simply beyond common sense. Just now, Lu Ming could clearly feel that the blood essence he devoured from the fire wolf was divided into two. Half was transformed into true qi, and the other half was absorbed by the bloodline itself. This was why both his true qi and bloodline were upgraded. In the future, as long as he continued to devour the blood essence of monsters, wouldn't his bloodline level continue to improve? It was not impossible to level up to the 5th level, 6th level, 8th level, 9th level, or even beyond the 9th level. Lu Yao's 5th level bloodline was nothing. Ha ha ha. Lu Ming laughed heartily. Let's go find monsters. Lu Ming could not wait to look for demonic beasts and experiment with them. Not long after, Lu Ming discovered another level 8 level 1 demonic beast. This demonic beast actually had a 2-point iron plate on it. Lu Ming killed it and put away the iron plate. Then, he activated his bloodline and sucked out 9 drops of blood essence from the monster. Blood essence was the blood essence of living creatures and contained a huge amount of energy. Legend has it that whether it was a monster or a human, there were only 9 drops of blood essence in their body. After the 9 drops of blood essence were devoured by the black worm bloodline, they were also divided into 2, and part of them was transformed into Lu Ming's true qi. Suddenly, Lu Ming's cultivation broke through and reached the middle of the 6th level martial warrior. The blood-red chakra on the bloodline, although it did not level up, its color became more vivid. The blood essence of a Class 8 LV1 monster was indeed more effective than that of a Class 7 LV1 monster. Let's call it the spirit-devouring bug from now on. Duanmu family, you wait for me, continue. Lu Ming named the black worm bloodline spirit-devouring bug. After that, Lu Ming hunted monsters in the secluded Night Mountain range and devoured their blood essence. Lu Ming's cultivation increased crazily. More than a day later, Lu Ming's cultivation had risen to the 7th level martial warrior. 3 days later, Lu Ming's cultivation broke through again, reaching the peak of the 8th level martial warrior. At this time, his bloodline really did level up again. The 2nd chakra was born, and it was promoted to the 2nd level bloodline. After 3 days of continuous hunting of demonic beasts, Lu Ming finally figured out a part of the mysteries of his bloodline. First of all, there was a limit to the devouring of 50% of the attack power when his bloodline erupted. He found that it would only work on monsters that were 5 levels higher than him. It would be useless if it was more than 5 levels higher. For example, Lu Ming was a Class 1 martial warrior. It would only work on monsters below the 6th level martial warrior. Once he encountered a monster above the 7th level martial warrior, it would have no effect at all. The time of the bloodline eruption was a breath at first. After the eruption, it would take 3 hours before the eruption could continue. But with the promotion of the bloodline, these changes occurred. Every time the bloodline was promoted, the time of the bloodline eruption would increase by 1 breath. When Lu Ming was promoted to the 2nd level bloodline, the time of his bloodline eruption had increased to 3 breaths. Correspondingly, the time to restore the power of his bloodline had also decreased. Chapter 34. Lu Ming was walking through the forest and his expression suddenly changed and he muttered, "They're really haunting me. However, they've come at the right time." Swish. Swish. At this moment, the sound of something breaking through the air could be heard. In the next moment, figures appeared in front of Lu Ming, behind him, and to his left. In front of him was Wei Zio and Wei Ziming. Behind him were 4 people from the Duanmu family. Other than the young martial master, there were 3 other youths. On the left was a young man in embroidered clothes. His aura was extremely powerful and he was also a martial master. When the 3 groups of people saw Lu Ming, they spread out in a circle and surrounded Lu Ming. 3 of them were martial masters of the 1st layer and 3 were martial warriors of the 9th layer. As for Wei Ziming, he could be ignored. Lu Ming, let's see where you can run to this time. Wei Ziming stared viciously at Lu Ming and said. Lu Ming smiled and casually glanced at Wei Ziming and said, "You trash, if you have the ability, come and fight me yourself." Lu Ming, you're going to be a dead man soon. I won't bother with a dead man. Wei Ziming said viciously. Lu Ming, you actually dared to kill a disciple of my Duanmu family. You deserve to die 10,000 times. The young martial master from the Duanmu family coldly shouted. I deserve to die 10,000 times? Your Duanmu family wanted to kill me first. According to what you're saying, I can only be killed and can't fight back? Lu Ming said. That's right. If my Duanmu family wants to kill you, you can only stand there and wait for death. How can your cheap life be compared to the lives of my Duanmu family disciples? The young man from the Duanmu family coldly shouted. He was overbearing, confident, and unreasonable. Ha ha ha. Lu Ming chuckled. He didn't want to say anything to such a person. Soon after, he shifted his gaze to the young man in embroidered clothes and said, What about you? I don't think I know you. Are you also from the Duanmu family? Huh, Lu Ming, since you're going to die, I'll let you know why. Senior brother Ning Feng asked me to come. You're really bold. You've just entered the sect and you dare to offend senior brother Ning Feng. Are you tired of living? The young man in embroidered clothes faintly. Alright, don't talk nonsense with him. Let's kill him. I don't have time to talk nonsense. The young man from the Duanmu family, Duanmu Fei, said coldly. As soon as he finished his words, his figure pounced toward Lu Ming like a gust of wind. Green sword aura cut through the air, emitting a sharp whistling sound. Wei Zio and the youth in embroidered clothes did not make a move. In their opinion, it was enough to kill Lu Ming. Just as Duanmu Fei's sword aura was about to slash Lu Ming stomped heavily on the ground and unleashed the dragon snake steps. He dodged the sword aura and his figure darted out at lightning speed. His target was a 9th layer martial warrior from the Duanmu clan. Clang! His sword rang and a sword light flashed. With his current cultivation of martial realm, even if the young martial master was on full alert, he could not avoid Lu Ming's sword light. Puchi! The long sword pierced the young martial master's heart. 1 hit, 1 kill. Devour. With a thought, Lu Ming's palm erupted with a powerful suction force. 9 drops of blood essence were sucked out of the young martial master's wound. They flowed along Lu Ming's arm and were devoured by the spirit-devouring bug. In the past few days, Lu Ming had figured out a way to use the spirit-devouring bug's bloodline. He could use the devouring power on his hands to silently devour the blood essence of others. Ah, Lu Ming, you're courting death. Duanmu Fei roared furiously. His figure flashed and he charged at Lu Ming. Lu Ming's mouth revealed a cold smile. He did not want to meet Duanmu Fei head-on. Using the dragon snake steps, he charged at another young martial warrior. At the same time, the spirit-devouring bug's bloodline continued to refine the blood essence and a stream of energy poured into Lu Ming's body. The energy contained in the blood essence of a martial warrior was huge, which allowed Lu Ming's cultivation to quickly improve. His cultivation, which was already at the peak of martial realm, was constantly approaching the 9th level. Swish! Sword light flashed. Although the young martial master tried his best to retreat, his speed was no match for Lu Ming's. He was killed in an instant. At the same time, the blood essence was also absorbed by Lu Ming. Crash. True Qi surged. The blood essence of two 9th-level martial warriors finally allowed Lu Ming to break through the shackles. His cultivation reached the 9th-level martial warrior in one fell swoop. Damn it, what are you two waiting for? Let's attack together and kill Lu Ming. Duan Mufei roared. In the past few days, 3 9th-level martial warrior youths of the Duanmu family had died in the hands of Lu Ming. Even in the Duanmu family, a 9th-level martial warrior under the age of 18 could be regarded as an elite. Now that 3 of them had died at once, he didn't know how to explain it to the elders of the Duanmu family. Therefore, he hated Lu Ming to the extreme. Kill! Kill! Wei Zio and the young man in brocade roared and also rushed towards Lu Ming. Lu Ming killed 2 9th-level martial warriors in an instant. His strength was beyond their expectations. At this time, they didn't care about their face and directly joined forces. Duan Mufei and Wei Zio slashed out a sword qi, while the young man in brocade robe slashed out a golden palm force. The 3 joined forces and with a harsh whistling sound, they rushed towards Lu Ming. Come on, let me see how strong the martial master realm is. Lu Ming laughed. His cultivation had broken through to the 9th-level martial warrior, which greatly increased his confidence. Pung! With a twist of his body, Lu Ming rushed towards Duan Mufei, ignoring the attacks of Wei Zio and the young man in brocade robe. Die! Wei Zio and Duan Mufei's eyes revealed a sinister killing intent. Bloodline eruption. At this time, Lu Ming's bloodline erupted and a layer of black light flashed. At this time, the attacks of Wei Zio and the other 2 landed on Lu Ming's body. The scene of Lu Ming being killed didn't happen as expected. Lu Ming's body only swayed, but the long sword in his hand didn't stop. Like a cold bolt of lightning, it burst forth and pierced towards Duan Mufei's heart. Duan Mufei never dreamed that Lu Ming would not only survive the joint attack of the 3, but also counterattack. It was too late for him to dodge. With a poochie sound, his chest was pierced by Lu Ming. He felt his vision darken and fell heavily to the ground. Duan Mufei, dead. 2 breaths left. Lu Ming's mind whirled as he slashed his long sword towards the young man in brocade robe. Ah! Die! Seeing Duan Mufei being killed, the young man in brocade robe was scared out of his wits. At this time, he sent out 2 palm strikes. However, Lu Ming didn't care, allowing the palm strikes to land on his body. The long sword in his hand didn't stop as it slashed through the young man's throat. Blood splattered everywhere as the young man's throat was slashed. He desperately clutched his throat with both hands, his eyes wide open, filled with unwillingness, pleading, and hatred. Retreat, quickly retreat. On the other side, Wei Zio screamed in horror. Lu Ming killing 2 martial masters in a row had already scared him out of his wits. He frantically fled. Don't you think it's too late to leave now? Chapter 35. Lu Ming used the dragon snake steps, covering 50 feet in a single step. Wei Zio could not escape at all. In just 10 breaths, Lu Ming caught up to Wei Zio. I'll fight you to the death. Wei Zio roared, activating his bloodline as he turned around to attack Lu Ming. He knew that no matter if he begged for mercy or threatened, it would be useless. From Lu Ming's previous attack, it could be seen that he was ruthless, decisive and determined. Even the genius disciples of the Duanmu family were killed without hesitation. He was simply lawless. Therefore, he was not afraid of the Wei family at all. Clang! Clang! Their swords collided as the 2 engaged in a fierce battle. At this point, Lu Ming's bloodline activation had long passed. However, Lu Ming relied on the true dragon battle art and the 4th level of the flowing light sword art to completely suppress Wei Zio. Wei Zio's sword art was only at the 4th level of a low-grade yellow rank sword art. Their swords clashed as they exchanged more than 10 moves. Lu Ming's sword art became faster and faster. Finally, Lu Ming's sword pierced Wei Zio's heart. In a head-on battle, Wei Zio was defeated. Defeat meant death. Following which, Lu Ming looked in a direction and sneered as he chased after Wei Zio. At this point, Wei Ziming was running for his life, wishing that he had 2 more legs. How can he be so strong? How can he be so strong? Even a martial master was killed by him. Second brother is most likely no match for him. I must run out and ask father to send experts to kill this Lu Ming. As Wei Ziming ran, he let out a low growl. You're still thinking of killing me at this point. Suddenly, a voice sounded in Wei Ziming's ears. Ah! Wei Ziming screamed in fright. Turning his head, he saw Lu Ming looking at him with a cold smile. A wave of cold air rushed from Wei Ziming's tailbone to the top of his head. Lu Ming, spare my life. I beg you to spare me. Wei Ziming did not dare to run anymore. He immediately stopped and knelt down with a plop, begging loudly. This made Lu Ming slightly stunned. This Wei Ziming was actually a spineless person, completely different from Wei Zio. I've already killed Wei Zio, do you think I'll let you go? Lu Ming smiled faintly. Lu Ming, no, brother Ming, don't worry, I won't tell anyone about what happened today. Moreover, you killed Wei Zio. You killed him well. His talent is higher than mine, and he has always been suppressing me. I have long wanted him dead. Once he dies, there will be no one to compete with me for the position of Flame City Lord. Wei Ziming cried out with tears and snot running down his face. However, he was roaring in his heart. As long as he didn't die today, he would definitely make Lu Ming pay 10 times, 100 times more. If I don't kill you, should I wait for your revenge? Do you think I'm that stupid? Lu Ming smiled faintly. No, Wei Ziming cried out. He wanted to get up and run away, but a sword light flashed and Wei Ziming's head flew far away. Unfortunately, one of them still escaped. Lu Ming whispered. There was only one young man left in the Duanmu family who was at Martial Warrior LV9. He was at Martial Warrior LV9 and was running with all his strength. Now that so much time had passed, it was impossible to catch up. Puff! Suddenly, Lu Ming's body shook and he spat out a mouthful of blood. The attack of a martial mentor is really sharp. Lu Ming sighed. Just now, he had activated his bloodline and forcefully withstood the attacks of Duanmu Fei and the other 2. Although 50% of the attack power had been reduced, and he had relied on the protective chi of a 9th layer martial warrior to resist part of the attack, he was still injured. However, this injury was worth it in exchange for the lives of 3 martial mentor experts. In terms of combat strength, even if Lu Ming had the bloodline of the spirit-devouring bug, he might not be a match for the 3 of them. Just now, Lu Ming had used the special characteristics of the spirit-devouring bug bloodline to catch them off guard and kill them in one fell swoop. Duanmu Fei and the young man in embroidered clothes did not even use their bloodline. Wiping the blood from the corner of his mouth, Lu Ming returned to the battlefield and devoured all the essence blood of Wei Zio, Duanmu Fei, and the young man in embroidered clothes. Then he left and found a secluded place to refine the essence blood. The essence blood of 3 martial mentor experts was enormous. Even if only half of the energy was converted into genuine chi, Lu Ming's cultivation soared. At the same time, his injuries were also recovering rapidly. After refining all the essence blood of the 3 martial masters, a light red chakra appeared on the 2 scarlet chakras of the spirit-swallowing bug bloodline. 3rd level bloodline. Lu Ming's bloodline had been upgraded to the 3rd level. At the same time, Lu Ming's cultivation had reached the peak of the 9th level of the martial warrior realm. He was only a little bit away from breaking through to the martial mentor realm. But it was this little bit that blocked Lu Ming's path. Lu Ming frowned. I've improved too fast recently. My genuine chi is not pure enough and my foundation is not stable. No wonder I can't break through. The more essence blood he devoured, the more drawbacks appeared. After all, he did not cultivate step by step. His foundation was not stable and his genuine chi was impure. Otherwise, with the essence blood of 3 martial mentor experts, he could break through to the martial mentor realm. I'm going to stop devouring essence blood and take some time to consolidate my cultivation. Lu Ming believed that as long as he consolidated his genuine chi for a period of time, he would be able to break through to the martial mentor realm. Next, Lu Ming moved to another place. Instead of continuing to hunt demonic beasts, he focused on cultivating the true dragon skill and various martial techniques. This cultivation lasted for 9 days. After 9 days of continuous bitter cultivation, Lu Ming's genuine chi was no longer impure. It was once again refined and pure, and his foundation was stable. When the conditions were right, Lu Ming's cultivation level broke through and he reached the martial master realm. Whoosh! Lu Ming slashed out with his sword. A black sword chi burst out and cut a tree as thick as a person's waist in half. In the martial mentor realm, one could release genuine chi in form sword chi, saber chi, fist aura, etc. It was very powerful. My genuine chi is several times stronger. If I were to fight with Wei Zio or Duan Mufei, who are in the first layer of the martial mentor realm, I would be able to kill them in one move. Lu Ming's eyes were incomparably bright. Let's try the dragon snake steps. During this period of time, his other martial techniques did not improve. However, the dragon snake steps broke through again and reached the 6th level of the martial technique, man and martial arts as one. This was the highest level of a martial technique. Bang! His genuine chi burst out and his muscles trembled. Lu Ming's figure rushed out like the wind. The fallen leaves on the mountain were swept up by his body and fluttered wildly. His figure was already 70 feet away. That's right, 70 feet. Originally, when one cultivated to man and martial arts as one step was 60 feet. However, because his cultivation had broken through to the martial mentor realm, 1 step was 70 feet. The higher one's cultivation, the more powerful the same martial technique would be. There are still 4 days until the end of the examination. I have to put in all my effort to find the iron plate. You're tuning into the Biyao's Wuxia Chronicles YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.